What's going on, guys? It is a Sunday. I'm doing a live today, just trying to catch up. I missed you guys yesterday, but as some of you know, and others who don't know, I am attorney Michael Eline. I am a personal injury attorney licensed to practice law in Texas and California, but everything I do here is separate and apart from the work that I do at Eline Law Firm. I like to help people who've suffered civil rights violations or having criminal defense problems. I don't do that for money, though. I just cover those issues on my channel so you can sort of understand it. Most of the money that I make as a lawyer is motorcycle accidents and catastrophic car accidents. That's what I'm really good at. That's what the law practice that I work for has dedicated its time to. But my hobby and my passion is holding the government accountable. And so that's what these shows are about. So if you have questions or comments, or you want to talk about that kind of stuff, put it in the sidebar or go to the Michael Eline website. Let me really quick just roll you guys, shoot you guys. Well, shoot. I'm going to play this video for you guys, and then I'm going to cover that as soon as I get back, log back in. Unfortunately, I forgot to do a couple of things as usual, but I got my Punisher shirt on today. So today we're going to talk about punishing corrupt law enforcement and about all the crazy stuff that cops do. And as you guys know, I think that it starts at the top. I think it starts with scumbag politicians, mayors, city council, and they use these police departments as their own personal Praetorian Guard. And so they're just taking orders and they're just copying what the politicians are doing. So in their minds, they can do no wrong because the politicians who told them to enforce these unjust laws think that it's okay. And so they think that they're going to be covered. And I know that some of you guys, by the way, Ghost Man, good seeing you. Copster 5150, Jody Shiloh, thanks for joining the show today, guys. Stomper, awesome that I have. Man, I can't believe you guys are showing up this early at freaking 10:00 a.m. on a Sunday. Honestly, today I was gonna use this show to create a bunch of shorts for the week because I may have to do a trial next week, and I'm completely overwhelmed with cases. And as you guys know, I don't make money off of these shows. The super chats that I get are very far and few between. The book sales that I get for my book about how I became a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad pretty much cover well, this herb tea that I'm drinking right now. So I've got to make a living too, but just so you know, I do try to cover these recent events as much as possible. And so today we're going to cover a couple of things, and hopefully we'll be able to get into everything. But for sure, we're going to talk about that Riverside woman where the cop blocked her door open and said, I own you. I own your house now. We're going to cover that really quick. But another one of my viewers also sent me this video about a cop. About a cop who violated this woman's rights, lied on I guess 2 traffic citations, and a judge got furious about it and ultimately entered a JNOV, in other words, a judgment notwithstanding the verdict, after the prosecutor wanted to support a perjurious cop. And we're going to get into that. And the only reason I'm going to discuss that before we get onto the main show is because we're going to talk a little bit about double jeopardy and how does that work? I mean, if the judge, and we're going to talk about what is a JNOV, right? Because a lot of you guys have no clue what that is, unless you're lawyers. So forgive me if I assume that you guys know more about the law than you do. Most people on Team MPE, my channel, who followed me, know more about the law than 99% of the people who watch YouTube videos. But this show is more dedicated to all you cop watchers and you government accountability people. And thank God that you're out there filming. Thank God we have these cameras at our front doors that film stuff, because typically those are the cases that get reversed, right? When you can show that the officer is lying and violating your rights, they get reversed. And you see now how government, in particular politicians, are targeting people who are First Amendment auditors, people who are supporting government accountability operations. They're trying to treat us as if we're radical conspiracy theorists, crazy people. And you see how the leftist news tries to spin it to make it look like people like us who are trying to hold the government accountable are crazy people. And that's why I always tell you, repeat after me, legacy media is the enemy of the American people. If you're getting your news from Communist News Network, CNN, or PMS, NBC, all you're getting is billionaire-funded news that is for profit, that is funded by people who have a financial interest in keeping you under their jack boots, right? And so just keep that in mind. That's why I always recommend that you get your news off of a source like Twitter, where they don't have a censorship program in place like they do on all the other Silicon Valley websites and platforms that allegedly allow you to speak your mind, like Facebook, Zuckbook, right? Where you know that he's basically hand in hand, walking in lockstep with the CIA and the FBI. We know there was a revolving door employment scheme between Twitter and the current administration, where they were basically shaping American policy by using social media as state actors in violation of Title 42, Section 1983 of the Civil Rights Act, as well as Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which we've gotten into in other shows. They're trying to say that as long as there's Section 230, they can put a label on your post and say that it's false or misleading, even if it's not, which is basically defamation. They're putting you in a false light, saying that you spread disinformation, which is defamation. But then they try to use 230 as a way to weasel their out of any kind of a liability for basically trying to paint you as a crazy person or a wacko or someone that they're accusing of disinformation, which we'll get into also in future shows. So Stomper, yeah, Henry is a prime example. So Stomper is talking about Craig Henry. So I posted a link that I wanted to do a fundraiser to help him and his woman be able to support their children while he's locked up. And we know allegedly he pled guilty to some kind of domestic violence stuff at some point in the past. And we know that when you're locked up for months and months at a time, you'll pretty much plead out to anything. It's torture. You're thrown in a dungeon. If they don't like you, they'll put you in a jail cell with Big Bubba, right? And you'll plead out to anything. So I honestly don't have a lot of faith in those plea agreements. And you know that they're using that kind of stuff to try to paint him in a false light to make him look like he's a terrible person, the same way they did with Chili de Castro. And you saw the frauditor people, all those lowlifes who just hate him. So they were so happy that he got locked up. They didn't care about the legality of the charges against him. And that's another problem I have with democracy, which is majority rules. You have a bunch of psychotic people who believe whatever for-profit media tells them, and they're all about trying to get you locked up, even if you're innocent. And so in a constitutional republic where the rights of the individual are paramount, well, that's what I support. That's what members of Team MPE support. And that's what we try to push on my program, to get our government back to that. And it all starts with education. We need to pull our kids out of the public school systems, and we need to homeschool them so they're not being brainwashed by the safe space mafia who wants to control the children's minds and sexualize them while they're still in kindergarten. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Now, BZ Watchdog, good seeing you here, bro. I was talking with BZ a little bit earlier, and we'll finish that convo a little bit later. But he's got some really, really good material, and BZ is one of the best guys out there when it comes to public records requests and getting information about bad cops. I mean, he's awesome. So any of you guys who are lawyers, or you want to learn a little bit more about how to hold the government accountable with public records requests, he's the guy that you want to talk to. Now, right now, what we're going to get into is I'm going to kick off my show really quick, the normal way that I do with my cool video. And then we'll get into the cool video about this judge who holds this cop accountable. And then we're going to get into that Riverside woman. And the only reason, and I'm going to tell you guys, there is a light at the end of a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow with her. And it's only because it was caught on tape and it was put all over the internet. And so that's why I believe the police and law enforcement are targeting First Amendment auditors, because you guys are actually forcing them to do things that they don't want to do, like honor the Constitution. But let's start off the show really quick, and then we'll get into another edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe,
Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.
Hey, I thought of another cool name for my show. Instead of calling it Team MPE, why don't we call it Task Force MPE, like Task Force Bruiser, right? The Navy SEALs call it Task Force MPE. Give me a bunch of oorahs, guys, for Task Force MPE. And today, Task Force MPE is going to start off with a little bit about what a judgment notwithstanding the verdict is, and how to deal, how actually there's a few good judges out there who hold the police accountable. And we'll start off the show with that. And then we'll get into these false arrests, these illegal entries by cops into people's homes, and why it's so important that you always film everything, guys. But first, let's start off with this first video, and we'll do a little bit of a law office study. It's only a few minutes, and then we'll get into the rest of everything. All right.
Florida. It's 6:30 p.m. and a long one-day trial has come to an end.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of driving under the influence.
That defendant is 46-year-old Lisette Gonzalez. Although a verdict for Gonzalez's DUI charge has already been reached, her attorney makes a final plea to Judge Fred Schott.
Your Honor, not enough evidence presented for the jury to find the verdicts that they did. They didn't do all the field sobriety examinations that should have been done.
During the trial, it was revealed that Gonzalez was never given a breathalyzer or had her blood drawn. Yet arresting officer Michael Wagner recorded that she tested above the legal limit of 0.08 in his official report. Wagner claimed it was an honest mistake, but observed what he believed to be intoxication.
I respectfully ask that this court grant the judgment notwithstanding the verdict.
The attorney is asking the judge to use his power to overturn the jury's verdict and acquit the defendant. It's a move rarely seen in the courtroom.
All right. This isn't a purely circumstantial case. And so I'm going to deny the motion for JOA.
It looks like the case is closed, but Judge Schott has other business with Gonzalez.
Now, we have this other case for driving while license suspended.
2 months after her DUI arrest, Gonzalez was ticketed for driving with a suspended license. Problem is, the only reason her license was suspended was because of the inaccurate paperwork filed by Officer Wagner.
I want to be enlightened.
It was a mistake, admittedly, by Michael Wagner.
I know.
Testified to that today.
He caused her to have her driver's license suspended for at least a few months for nothing. So are you going to null process that case, or am I going to get mad at you today?
The judge is addressing prosecutor Diana Mears.
Perhaps you can.
Okay, so you understand what that means so far. No pros means, are you going to go ahead and just throw that case out, not continue with the charges, like what they should be doing with Carolina in Fort Worth. The filing deputy should have never filed it. But obviously they're trying to protect the city. They're trying to protect these scumbag cops in Fort Worth because, you know, if she gets away with holding the government accountable, then they're all going to get away with it. By the way, Tiffany Dagley, thank you so much. I see you got your private first class Chevron. You're part of Team MPE. Tiffany Dagley, or it could be Dagley. You can correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am. You say that I'm valued and appreciated, sir. You don't have to call me sir. I earned my money. I was an enlisted Marine, but I still love Marine officers because they're the few officers in the military who lead from the front along with the trigger pullers. So hoorah to the Marine Corps officer. And thank you, Tiffany, for supporting my channel. That means a lot to me because I don't think people realize how much time and effort it takes for me to put these shows together. And it really motivates the crap out of me when you guys, especially my wife, when you guys throw me, even if it's a $2 super chat, or you guys buy a copy of my book. By the way, several people have, before we get any further, I want to let you guys know, several people have purchased copies of the digital version of my ebook, which is My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. Several people have purchased copies on YouTube. I'm sorry, on PayPal. And it's about my journey of how you too can become a lawyer with no law degree or law school if you're just motivated and you have people surrounding you who believe in you and have faith in you, and sometimes maybe even help you out with a little bit of the funds if you're low. But yes, I know I've got at least 2 or 3 in queue. I plan on getting those books out to you today, the digital versions. Again, we don't have any soft covers yet, and those would cost a lot more plus shipping and handling. But I'll have the digital version out to you hopefully later today. So don't cancel your purchases yet, guys. I've just been buried. Today I was going to take my son to church and overslept. And so got in a little battle with the wife because she's very, very concerned about the spiritual upbringing of our children. And obviously me being the leader of the household, that's my job. So I got chewed out, but at least I got permission in spite of that to come and do this show. And so basically this judge is telling the prosecutor, hey, you need to throw out the second charge. I'm not even going to mess with the first case, even though the cop lied about doing a proper test to see if this suspect was drunk. And I think he was just testing her out. I think he already knew he was going to toss the first case out, but we're going to get into that really quick. Let's go ahead and finish up this video. It's really excellent. And give me a bunch of ones for this judge, man. He's good.
Get mad at me, Your Honor, but at this point,
Why wouldn't you, wait a minute. Did you hear the uncontroverted testimony of this officer?
Your Honor.
Then I want you taking him up on perjury.
Your Honor.
Will you take him up for perjury?
He admitted it was a mistake, Your Honor.
No, but he lied. He lied on a sworn
Absolutely not,
citation.
Your Honor, and that is not true.
I'm dismissing. I am dismissing this charge. No, I'm dismissing the charge.
The judge has just dismissed the defendant's upcoming case, but he's not done yet.
This whole case was fishy, and I have no idea how they. You know what?
Their address on file.
You know what?
The state intends to amend
I'm
the charge
granting.
and proceed on
I'm rescinding the sentence. I'm granting the JOA.
Judge Schott has just reversed his decision and acquitted the defendant on the spot.
So you're granting it because you don't agree with the state's decision on
I'm
the other
granting the
charge?
JOA in fairness.
In fairness, because you don't like the state's decision today, Your Honor, on the case?
No, you're not. Now that I consider what Officer Wagner testified to and how many times he basically tripped over himself just to arrest this lady with no real probable cause. You're done. Motion JOA is granted.
And you're not going to provide a written order on that?
Nope. You want to appeal me? No.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The case should have never been done. Never.
Thank you for letting us know that, Your Honor.
The defendant, Lisette Gonzalez, walks out of the courtroom, free of all charges.
All right, so we'll stop it at that. So you guys get the idea, right? So this cop, obviously, he's got a hard on for Lisette Gonzalez, and he loves pulling her over and arresting her. So the first time he does a BS DUI and doesn't get her properly tested, but then lies under oath and says that he did properly test her, which he didn't. And then of course the prosecutor's like, oh, well, he made a mistake. You know, it's an honest mistake that he lied under oath, Your Honor. And so ultimately what happened is that case got overturned because when so the judge looked at the docket and saw there was a second charge against her. And he's like, wait a minute. Her license wouldn't have been suspended at all if the cop hadn't lied about the DUI. And so he's like, well, are you going to throw out the second case then, since now we have it on the record that the cop screwed up? Well, no, Your Honor, we're not. The people want to get her. We want to. He's like, okay, this is a racket. I see what's going on. Not only am I going to dismiss the second case, but I'm going to give you a judgment notwithstanding the verdict in favor of the defendant. And threw them both out. So give me a bunch of ones for the cop. That was the right thing to do. And I thought that was really, really terrific the way he handled that. So what we'll do right now is we'll get into so in California and other states, they will call it like a judgment notwithstanding the verdict. They called it like a JNOA or something. I'm not sure what state that was in, but basically it's the same. Right. She should take it to a civil court, Sky King. You're right, man. Sky King says they should take it to a civil court. She should sue him. And obviously, if she's got a good lawyer, a good civil rights lawyer, she'll probably do okay. And, you know, what'll happen is the cop will probably get a slap on the wrist. If anything, maybe lose a job and end up working in Apple Valley, California, or at some podunk police department and do the same thing, because obviously they don't really get held accountable. They just move them around. But so really quick, we'll get into, can a prosecutor appeal a JNOV? Because so one of my members shot this video to me and said, look, you know, this doesn't make sense because it sounds like the prosecutor might appeal. And if the prosecutor appeals, doesn't that place her twice in jeopardy? And so there's some Supreme Court precedents on this. And unfortunately, there's no bright line answer, but I'm going to give you what I think. So I took some notes here. So when considering whether a prosecutor can appeal a judgment notwithstanding the verdict without violating double jeopardy, it's kind of nuanced, like I said. So you have to look at the overview. A JNOV allows a judge to overturn a jury's verdict if there is insufficient evidence to support it or if the law was misapplied. And that's what happened with Chili de Castro. Unfortunately, we had a hanging judge with Chili de Castro, and she tried the case as well. And so obviously, if it had gone to a jury and he had a fair judge, in my opinion, that would have been overturned right on the spot. So it took 4 months of being falsely imprisoned in a jail, being treated like dog trash by Chili. And then ultimately he basically got the same thing as a JNOV, but on appeal. So just to give you an idea, that's what happened with Chili de Castro's case. So essentially in this case, it would be a post-trial motion where a judge can enter a judgment in favor of the opposing party. Now, generally in criminal cases, the prosecution will not have the right to bring an appeal over an acquittal due to double jeopardy. You guys know what that is, right? Like being tried twice for the same case. And of course, even then there's exceptions, like with the Rodney King trial, where Rodney King sued. Well, actually, there was criminal charges against these officers, and I guess it got moved to Simi Valley, where pretty much every retired LA cop lives. And those cops were acquitted for basically trying to kill Rodney King. And so they probably thought, oh, we're out in the clear. But no, the federal government also has a right to bring their own set of charges. And they brought their own charges under federal law that were pretty much the same thing as the charges against the criminal charges against those cops in the Rodney King trial. And those guys got convicted federally. So they got to do their time in Club Fed. So, I mean, either way, it was still better for the cops, because obviously being in a federal prison is a much easier sentence than state. I mean, state is like hell. It is a dungeon. But obviously, if you're a cop, it's still going to be bad for you in federal jail. Either way, if you're a cop and the prisoners know you're a cop, you're in trouble. But that's another story for another day. So in this case, the prosecution normally would not have a right to appeal a case based on the double jeopardy clause, which prevents a person from being tried twice for the same case. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys understand so far. So if a judge grants a JNOV, or a judgment notwithstanding the verdict, in favor of the defendant, it gets a little more complex. So yeah, the Supreme Court says in Burks versus United States, that's Burks, Burks versus United States, excuse me, that when a conviction is overturned due to insufficient evidence, double jeopardy attaches. And that's basically, I think, what the judge did here, is turned it over because there just wasn't enough evidence. But you can see why I'm always terrified to bring cases before a jury, because a lot of the jurors are government employees. I mean, under Harris, I think like 80% of all the new jobs were government jobs. So in government employees dramatically favor the state. Almost always they find, at least as a trial attorney, from trial attorney friends of mine who I've spoken to, go out of their way, if they're prosecutors, they want to get people who are government employees on that jury because they're always going to support the state. Well, why? Because they're on the payroll of the government and they want to keep their cushy government jobs and salaries that you and I would never get in a million years. So they think that it's their duty, almost even subconsciously, to support the state. The state can do no wrong. After all, they might lose their pension, right? Think about it. So this means that a defendant cannot be retried for the same offense, because allowing a retrial would essentially mean the defendant was convicted without sufficient evidence, which is unconstitutional. Now, appealing a JNOV, despite Burks, there have been interpretations and discussions around whether a prosecutor can appeal a JNOV on grounds other than sufficiency of evidence, like legal errors or misapplication of the law. Hopefully you're getting this so far. So if the appeal is based on these grounds, some prosecutors argue that it might not necessarily violate double jeopardy, because it's not about the evidence, but about legal correctness. And so you can see why the prosecutor was prodding the judge to try to make it about something other than the evidence. She was, well, is this because you don't like, no, just being a total, ugh, God, I'd never want to be a prosecutor. What a horrible job. So a current legal sentiment and practice from posts all over the internet, there's a mix of views, but legal experts like myself will tell you that if the JNOV overturns a verdict due to insufficient evidence, double jeopardy would bar a retrial, right? However, if it's based on other legal grounds, there might be room for an appeal without violating double jeopardy, though this would be contested all the way probably to the U.S. Supreme Court. If I was that prosecutor, I would put my tail between my legs, because there's also something that judges and judge magistrates are going to look at is, hey man, judges are people too, right? And so put it this way: if that was your daughter, right? If that was your daughter, and you knew that the officer had already lied about falsifying a DUI result, would you really want to help the state? I mean, especially if you're an elected judge, like at the state level, if you're elected or even appointed by a governor for a limited term. No, of course not. You're not going to find in favor of the state. I mean, she's reaching. That prosecutor should probably pack her bags and get a job working for someone else, like maybe for pharma, because obviously the government found that they can be immune for pretty much anything they do. And so maybe that's a better career for her. Now, the practical applications are many. You could argue that the appeal infringes upon double jeopardy. So while a straightforward appeal of a JNOV due to insufficient evidence would likely be barred, they can come up with other creative arguments. So anyways, I hope that answers Janice's question. That was one of my members who sent me this video, and she just wanted to know, hey, what would happen in this particular case? And so hopefully you guys got a pretty good understanding of how that works. Now let me see what people in the sidebar are saying. Age Go says bubblegum. And then, yeah, Free Henry. I think that we should look more into doing a fundraiser for Craig Henry, if anything, just to make sure his kids are taken care of, because we've seen a lot of his great stuff that he's done. I mean, he walked into a private but unmarked police parking lot, and he's filming through their windows, and he sees that there's a set of brass knuckles that have spikes coming out of them right there in a police officer's private car for the whole world to see, plain view. Now, if that was a civilian in most states and a cop saw those, that's a felony to have those brass knuckles with spikes, especially intent to commit grievous bodily harm, like intent to commit mayhem, right? If you've got spikes in them. And we know that based upon some of the videos that I've done, it's you cop watchers who have been able to get a lot of cops fired and in prison for using things like that as throwdowns, to plant evidence to try to get convictions against guys that they don't like, especially black men. When a black dude pops off to the police, they love throwing a throwdown weapon, planting some drugs in the car or brass knuckles, and using that as a tool to lock that guy up forever. And they typically do, from what I've seen and what I believe in my heart, is they typically try to target black males and black females and poor white people, because they know they won't be able to have the money to be able to defend those cases. So it's no wonder that certain minority groups hate police. So the system's working against itself, right? In my opinion. So yeah. And then Ghostman says Costa Rica and some South American countries can charge you as many times as they want till they finally get a conviction. That's true, brother. You got a point. But America, with all the laws that we have, the laws are so voluminous that everyone is basically an outlaw now. And that's why I support electing politicians who believe in deleting laws instead of passing more laws, right? Give me a bunch of ones if you believe we should be voting for people who are of chaste character, who aren't guilty of the things that we do, in order to have them delete laws instead of passing more laws, which is crazy. And obviously, I think that everybody should try and have as many children as possible, because I believe that, especially you men, that hormone comes out of protection, and you want to make the world a better place for your kids. And so I think that's really, really important, that you want to have kids and reproduce, because it makes you a better father, and it makes women rally around their husbands, especially if they want to raise their children and not have the state raise them. Because it's only natural for the woman who carried that child to want to be home with the child. It's the government who has put out this bogus message that women need to have a career and be stuck in a cubbyhole all their lives and have the state raise their children. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, if you're a man enough to be able to stand tall for your wife and work 18 hours, whatever a day, so she has the ability and the good fortune to stay home and homeschool those children, then that's the perfect model as far as I'm concerned. I don't think there's anything misogynistic about that at all. As long as you teach your home defense guys, and your kids know how to strip down your 1911 and put it back together again and re-oil it and keep it clean. Now I do see, hey, right on, Grateful Dabs. Thank you, brother. Grateful Dabs just threw me a $4.99. Everybody, please make sure to give Grateful Dabs a super chat, a thumbs up, and give it a heart, and also to add Grateful Dabs as a friend and subscribe to his channel, because this is all part of me putting out that idea of creating parallel systems where we do business with each other. We elect proper representatives who stop passing all these stupid laws to strip us of our Second Amendment rights, to strip us of our ability to raise our kids and have our wives be able to stay home with our kids if they want to, basically forcing us to both have jobs and let some commie public school teacher brainwash our children. People on my channel don't want that. You know, if you carried a child for 9 months inside of you and you're my wife, I want to make it possible, even if I have to like work my fingers to the bone, to where you can be with that child and raise that child and not have our maid, if we have enough money for a maid, or some public school teacher that hates America, that burns American flags in their spare time, raise your kids. Absolutely not. We don't believe that is part of Team MPE. and Tiffany, I'm sorry about hearing about what happened to you, but you know, Tiffany, that is the exception and not the rule. And I'm definitely going to say a prayer for you to try to, you know, make God make your husband see the light, that the children need their mother. And I think children need their mother more than their fathers, at least until the boys hit their teen years. And naturally, the boys will just start gravitating towards father because it's part of their genetic code that they want to start hanging out with the boys. They want to start learning how to do self-defense. They want to know what it is to be a man. And if they see that the husband's always hustling and out there working his fingers to the bone to support his wife and always talks positive things about the wife, that the parents never trash talk each other and they always present a united front in public and keep their private business at home, that's how you develop a strong family. And the children won't become reliant on the state. And we know that that's what the state wants. They want you reliant on them for everything from cradle to grave. And Team MPE teaches self-reliance, less laws, less government. That's what means more freedom. So, and Mama Lion says these men are hard to find. Well, there's a bunch of them right here on Team MPE. And if polygamy was legal and my wife wasn't from El Salvador and somebody who could potentially wield a machete, I would be all about it. And I think most men would be. But just kidding, ladies. No, I'm not being serious. A Grateful Dab says, my wife hasn't had a job for the past 13 years. I provide for my family. She takes care of the kids. And he says that's the way it's supposed to be. And look, I got no argument with that. What I don't like is that the government and the education system, college professors, they try to say that that's like misogynistic and it's like, what do they call it? A male chauvinist or whatever, to let the mothers raise the kids, which is insane to me. I mean, it's absolutely insane. If you're a woman who's had children, if you have a career, most of the women that have worked for my firm and they have kids, usually after a couple of months, they make a hard decision. They say, look, I want to be with my kids. And I'm like, well, I can't argue against that, but why don't we do this? Why don't we work something out to where you don't go broke? Maybe I let you work from home on some of these files. And, you know, that way you can raise your family. Cause I'm all about that. You know, I don't want slaves. I don't want people to hate me. You know, I'm doing them a favor by giving them a job and we have a contract and they fulfill their contract and hopefully it works out. And a lot of times they'll go on and start their own firms. And I'm like the first person to send them a case that I can't handle. So it's all about helping other people. You only live one life. You can't take your law firm to the grave with you. And you certainly can't take the spiritual harm of not allowing, especially a woman, to be able to rear her children properly away from some government scumbag who's never even had kids, who wants to tell you how to rear your kids, right? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Now, yeah, give her the choice and then adjust. And, you know, and sometimes when the kids grow up, you know, they want to go back out and do their thing. And I'm the first person who's going to rehire them because I'm like, wow, that was an honorable woman that she put her children before her career. And of course, you know, like you'll see a lot of the far radicalized cat ladies, they call them, will be saying, oh, but why doesn't the husband give up his career to raise the kids? Well, why would he, when men have no clue how to raise babies like a woman could? I didn't carry a child in my belly for 9 months. I didn't get up at 2 and 3 in the morning to breastfeed those kids. It's stupid. What a stupid argument. I mean, for thousands of years until men formed a U.S. Constitution and we started having democracies where women could get involved in the political process, it was just normal that men provided for the safety and welfare of the family and the tribe, and that the women would look after the children. I don't see anything misogynistic or racist or homophobic or whatever some USC law professor wants to say. It's just called natural law. It's just a natural thing that, I mean, why on earth would you want a man raising your kids? That's like a last resort, guys. I mean, obviously, if my wife passes away, I'm not going to let anybody else rear that child. I'm going to be rearing them the best I can, but I'm going to be bringing in my mother. I'm going to be bringing in my wife's best friends who are her friends for life that helped us with the kids when they were babies. So we could go out and maybe have a bite to eat once in a while, right? I'm not going to be stupid and think that I can replace the love of a woman. Women have a natural, spiritual, matronly aura about them that makes them different from men. And don't believe anything the government says that men can be women and women can be men. It's absurd. It's just dumb. There's a spiritual aspect that goes beyond biology. And if you can't see that, maybe you need to seek some professional help and stop trying to force your mental illness on my children in the public school system. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree. So these are all facts. That's right, Maurice. They're just all facts, brother. That's all we're talking about. And Grateful Dab says, I don't have breasts, at least not milk. Well, nowadays, you know, if you're a weirdo, you can ask your doctor to give you medicine to make you lactate, and then you can get yourself off by having little kids, you know, breastfeed. And that's a new thing that since the current administration has taken power, they're trying to get all this stuff covered under Obamacare so it can all be covered at your tax expense, including hormone replacement therapy for children. And the people who are going to make money off that are their party donors, right? The medical unions, the physicians unions, the nursing unions, who could care less about your children. You kind of can't blame them. I mean, practicing medicine is so paperwork intensive, you can't really make a living. About 90% of your time is filling out government paperwork. So you've got to find a way to make money. So how do you do it? Well, I'm not making a bunch of money with my plastic surgeon job. Maybe I can get sex change therapy covered under Obamacare, and then it could be tax funded, and then I can make a fortune. And so that's exactly what's been happening. And so now they're trying to give girls male hormones and boys estrogen therapy. And one doctor actually covered up the test. She actually did a report that, like a study, and she buried it because the study, just like the ones in Europe and everywhere else, prove that having little kids change their sex, actually they're like a 20% higher risk for suicide and all these other problems. They can't even reach an orgasm once they change their sex. I mean, all this crazy stuff that we're finding out, and these doctors are covering it up. So why would you trust them, right? At least based upon what I've been reading. I can't prove it right now in front of you, but there is evidence out there that shows that that's what happened. There's actually a doctor who did that, and she hid the study. It's all over the news. If you Google, well, don't Google it because you'll have to go to page 3000 to find it, because they'll bury it with stuff about how great it is to do all this stuff, because they're all in for that particular political side of the spectrum. But now let's get back into why I think and why I'm so happy that we have First Amendment auditors that are out there filming. So a while back, we had a Riverside sheriff. The sheriff department started investigating this incident where this sheriff put his foot in the door to prevent this woman from closing her door. And so automatically, as soon as this video went viral, all of a sudden the Riverside County sheriff decided to investigate it. But they were very upset. They were very upset that it went viral, and it was right before the trial was supposed to take place. So they were really upset that was going to mess up the trial. And hold on, let me just see if I can find. I just want to find the right video. This is unbelievable what ended up happening here. Well, the bottom line is, and we're going to show you the video in a second, but the Riverside County Sheriff's Department went ahead and prosecuted this woman after this guy pushed her door open and said, I'm not going to leave the house. These kids that you have opened the door and ran from me. Apparently it was like some kind of a noise pollution case on the 4th of July. Maybe they were setting off fireworks. And he wanted to hit her with contributing to the delinquency of a minor. You guys hopefully understand that. And then during the video, he grabs her, pulls her onto the front porch and puts her in handcuffs. And ultimately, the sheriff's department booked her into the Coyce Bird Detention Center for resisting arrest and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And it appears from the video that she did not touch the deputy, and it was the deputy who initiated contact. The arraignment was scheduled to be for a Friday, but as of that Saturday afternoon, and this was back in June, the police hadn't done anything. There was no information about what the status was of that case. And so I just found out today, and that's why I'm covering this story, and I'm trying to find the actual article if I can find the doggone thing. I just found out today that that case was dismissed. So give me a bunch of ones for the YouTube cop watchers. And if you guys, if I can find this, if I can find the freaking doggone, I'm trying to find it right now, but I can't find it right now, guys. But the bottom line is this woman had her case thrown out, and the video had generated around 10,000 views up until the time of this article, which was on September 7th of 2024. Okay, so that's because of you guys. That's because of the cop watchers. That's because of you people putting these videos out. And now I'm going to show you the video in case you guys don't remember what happened. But it was pretty wild, man. Let's get into it real quick. Show it to you. Show you the video, and then you can see for yourself. I'll try to start from the beginning. Having some trouble with the playback. Try it again. And again, he's responding to like a noise complaint. 4th of July.
You can.
Okay, then back the fuck up.
I'm
That's
not
my
gonna
house.
back up.
You do not have a right to be inside my
I'm
house.
not gonna
I will
back
talk
up.
to you outside.
Back up and talk to her outside. No.
You don't have a warrant. No, don't talk to them.
You don't have
You do
to
not
walk.
have
Let
a
me tell
warrant
you-
to be inside. I will talk to you outside.
You want?
Officer, I will talk
I
to
am
you.
not gonna step outside your house.
You do not have a
We're
warrant
gonna
to
talk
be
right
inside
here.
of my house.
I'm not inside your house. Okay.
You're inside
Yes.
of my house.
Let me tell you why I'm right here.
Because you walked in.
No, because they opened the door and ran from me.
And
That's
I'm
why.
telling you, I am the
Okay,
adult
and I'm
here.
telling
This is
you
my home.
that now that I'm inside your house, I own your house
No,
right
you
now.
do not.
Yes, I do.
You're no shit,
Yes,
bro.
I do.
You're no shit, bro.
What
I
need-
know my
I
rights.
don't care if you know your rights.
And I'm telling you, my
So-
dog will bite you if I tell her to bite you.
Tell
So
your
I'm
dog to
asking
bite
you to back
Tell
up.
your dog to bite
And
you.
I will talk to you outside.
I'm not gonna talk to you
What
outside.
the fuck do you want? What the fuck do you want inside my house?
So we're just
You're
kind of
fucking
he's
super.
cussing a lot.
You
So we
have
gotta
no right
use
to
that.
be inside. No, don't
Please.
fucking talk to them.
Please.
They're minors. I'm the adult here. This is my home.
She
Get the
said
fuck-
she's the adult.
She's not the fucking. She's
Make sure to type in the sidebar that that this is a reaction video, so I don't get in trouble with the thought police because this woman's saying swear words. We're simply trying to show a video of a woman who's resisting a tyrannical attack by a law enforcement officer. I'm going to go ahead and turn the volume down and just let you watch it. So basically, I'll narrate. She's saying, "Get out of my house. You don't have a right to be here." He's saying, "I own your house now. I can do whatever I want." And this is just a reaction video. And so ultimately, he attacks her. He flat out attacks her, using wrestling moves on her. He's got the kids there all filming. Obviously, that makes the dog flipped out. Riverside County. I mean, come on, man. Handcuffing her. She's not a happy camper.
touch you. You're
Oh gosh, sorry guys. Anyways, here's another angle. Obviously, I don't condone all the cuss words in front of the kids. That's not a good way to talk around your children, but it happens. So you can see he's cuffing her, hooking her up. taking her to jail, guys. I mean, he's literally taking this woman to jail. Just wild. So again, you can see, he's pretty brutal. So let me kind of let me tell you what ends up happening. All right. So this woman, Riverside County Sheriff, is furious that they're getting all these phone calls saying, hey, we saw this video on YouTube, and he's upset that the body cam footage got released. He's pissed. And so what she was able to do, she was able to take the body cam footage and sync it with her home like surveillance system. So that's all synced up so you can see it all together. But the sheriff's department was furious, and they are so upset about you cop watchers and people that are out there putting this all over the internet. And ultimately, guys, give me a bunch of ones for all the cop watchers. The Riverside County Sheriff's dismissed, actually the prosecutor dismissed the charges. They probably realized they wouldn't be able to get anywhere with this, that the charges all got thrown out. So it's a done deal. It's over. So, and that's because of you guys. That's because of people trying to hold the police accountable. And so we're seeing this happen time and time again, guys, where you have, and by the way, that's another thing that kind of bothers me about the reaction video guys and the cop watchers. It's like they're looking for clicks and likes, and I guess that's cool, but if you really want to make change, you should cover the story. It's got legs, guys. The charges got thrown out. I mean, you don't hear anybody talking about that. Literally, it's because of you guys that the charges got thrown out. I didn't even bother covering it because I was figuring, a million guys are going to cover this. It's pointless for me. It's not really new stuff that people haven't covered. And I'm trying to cover things that I think are interesting that can be eye-opening to you guys. And so in this case, hopefully you guys are understanding what I'm all about. So the bottom line is, you saw how abusive that guy was, and what a jerk, right? I mean, he literally props her door open and refuses to allow her to get back in the house. And he's got all these crazy rules. And so I thought, I'm going to go ahead and go over the law, because you see these 30-second clips with these guys, like these lawyers that get like 1 million views, and they say, absolutely, the cops had no right to do that, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, that is not really a very sound legal argument. Like, spend a little time and let's talk about it together so people can start learning how to think critically. Because my job is to teach you guys how to think like lawyers. That's what I try to do. Help you become more critical in your thought process instead of just believing anything that you see on YouTube or anything the legacy news media, the enemy of the American people, tell you to think, right? So we're going to get into that a little bit. So let me just real quick pop my big, beautiful mug with my team Bruiser. Yeah, my team Bruiser, team MPE Bruiser MPE t-shirt that I got at a gun store a couple months back. I just love this shirt. It's got something cool on the back too about patriotism is something. I gotta read that right there. So I love walking onto colleges and public school campuses and watch all the school teachers flip out, because they hate America and our Constitution, and especially our Second Amendment. So it's always fun to watch them crap their pants. Now, let's see here. Let's get into the legality of a cop blocking your front door of your home and the gray areas, because I think it's malpractice to just say, no, it's illegal, and blah, 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 blah. Thanks, Kyle. Good seeing you, bro. I'm glad that, you got to fix your son's wills. Family comes first, my man. And then Life Under the Microscope says, Life Under the Microscope says, freedom is scary. Public opinion is our badge and indemnification. Right? That's true. And then Mama Lion says the damages have been done unacceptable. So my guess is that, her kids were probably outside shooting off fireworks. And since they live in California, everything's pretty much illegal in California, right? So you set off some fireworks and it's like a capital offense. So they see the sheriff come and their natural reaction is to run inside the house, right? So he's like a dog in heat, right? He's running after his prey so he can start humping them. And the only thing standing in his way at this point is the mother, who tries to slam the door on him. And what does he do? He pushes the door open And he says, I own your house now. It's like, yeah. It's not like something out of like a Hitler movie or something, right? It's just crazy. So let's get into it. Is it legal for a cop to block your front door with no search warrant? The legality of a police officer blocking your front door. I'll just put my mic over here a little bit. The legality of a police officer blocking your front door without a search warrant can be complex and often depends on the specific circumstances, jurisdiction, and local laws. So I'm going to give you some specific fact patterns and some specific ideas to consider. Well, number one, I'm only licensed to practice law in Texas and California, so I'm not giving you legal advice, but what I am going to tell you is I'm going to give you general legal principles that do apply pretty much across all the states like you would learn in a law school. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of your state. So if you have additional questions or want to learn more, I encourage you to go to your local law library and do the legal research, from looking at the big books and then shepherdizing and then going down into the pocket parts to look at the most recent case law. And I'll do a video on how to shepherdize cases and how to use the pocket parts and how to look up recent case law without having to use LexisNexis or Westlaw to do it. That's how I learned. As a paralegal, I learned how to do it before they had all these computers and all these programs. And you'll find it really rewarding when you actually do it in the book. You smell the paper and, it's just cool. You're actually like getting into the books. Like I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie, The Paper Chase, but it's all about the books and reading and doing all the paperwork. Really cool. Yeah, that's right, Stomper. She should be swearing, he said. Well, Stomper, I agree with you that it's okay to swear if the moment that you're swearing edifies the occasion, right? And clearly having your rights violated edifies the occasion. I just don't believe that you should take the Lord's name in vain, right? I'm just old school, more traditional, not supposed to swear by heaven, for it is his kingdom, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool. That's what I learned as a kid. But look, I'm a Marine. I swear all the time. I just don't take the Lord's name in vain. That's the only thing. I cuss all the time. There's a difference between swearing and cussing. Swearing is when you invoke the name of God, and then cursing or cussing is different. It's just when you, damn it, I hurt my finger or whatever. So we'll talk about that in another episode. I don't want to get too Bible beater here for you guys. But here are some points that I want you guys to consider before you just think it's okay to like slam the door on the cop. All right, and then get yourself into more trouble. So the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Blocking a front door could be potentially seen as a form of seizure if it prevents you from entering or leaving your home, right? So it's kind of like your objective reasoning, like what do you think it's doing? And then now police can also argue exigent circumstances, and this is what they argue all the time, is a way to skirt the Fourth Amendment, because it's their job is to figure out how to violate your rights. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that that's what law enforcement's primary job is to try to find a way to violate your rights and get a collar on you, put you in the torture cuffs, throw you in the dungeon, and take your money. That's what it's all about, in my opinion. Now, they can argue exigent circumstances. Police might be allowed to enter or block entry to a home without a warrant if there are exigent circumstances, like an emergency, like there's an immediate threat to life or a serious injury. Like you just shot someone on your front lawn and now you're running into your house trying to get away from the cop. That could be considered an exigent circumstances. Now, some teenagers lighting off some fireworks, I'd have to know more. If they're lighting off illegal fireworks and then the cop shows up and he sees them shooting the fireworks and then they're running from him, he might be able to argue there's an exigent circumstances that he's in hot pursuit, right? And that's the next one, hot pursuit, if someone's fleeing or entering the home. But I don't see how there would be really an emergency that there's a threat to life or serious injury, unless, of course, they have some M80s in their hands and they have got lit fuses and they're going to blow their hands off, right? Because they're kids after all. And then destruction of evidence. There's a risk that the evidence might be destroyed. Well, if they're lighting off cherry bombs out in the street, I seriously doubt they're destroying that evidence. The evidence has already kind of destroyed itself, but not really. There's going to be residuals. There's going to be enough for him to make that investigation, especially if he had eyes on and was watching the crime occur. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree with that if he was watching it while it occurred and he has that on his police cam, on his dash cam, that he's already got the evidence. There would be no logical basis for him to chase a bunch of little children into their house and freak out their mom and maybe even get the dog to attack him, where now he shoots their dog, which happens all the time, guys. It happens all the time. So I don't think there's any risk for destruction of the evidence. Now, here's the one that cops love to get you guys on. Remember, police are Dracula. Blah, blah, blah. Remember the old Dracula movies? If you invite the Dracula into your house, he's allowed to come in. But otherwise, Dracula's not allowed to come into your house. So repeat after me. Police are Count Dracula. If you invite them or you give a furtive movement or a, like you make it appear as though they have the right to come in, like opening your front door could be deemed an invitation to enter the house. That's why you never open your door to talk to the police or anybody. Like when you have a package guy show up at your house, I mean, besides racking your slide and having your weapon at the ready, you don't open your door. You talk to him through the door. You can set it right there. You need me to sign something? Okay, back off and I'll come out. Be advised that I'm armed. I don't know who you are. I've never seen you before. I'll sign it, but I don't know who you are, sir. So keep in mind that I am armed before I come out and sign anything. I need to make sure that I know who you are. Show me some ID. I'm going to call 911 just in case, because I do not know who you are. I haven't ordered any packages, okay? Just want to give you guys one scenario of how you can deal with that. So if you consent by opening that door, you're inviting Dracula to come in. And that goes with criminals too. As soon as you open up that front door, now if they can overpower you, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, right? And you don't have that physical upper body strength to prevent a larger male from pushing that door in. And again, even a deadbolt's not going to stop an attacker who wants to get in your house. They're going to knock that door down. So you always have to be well armed, and you have to be well trained in how to defend your property or your children, how to defend yourself and your children. Because again, most states don't allow you to use deadly force to defend property, only if you're in fear for your life. And clearly, if some guy's trying to knock down your door, you would have the right of self-defense. Again, this isn't legal advice. I want you to research your own state statute so you know for sure before you do something dumb that could get you into trouble. And if you live in a state that's like retreat to the wall, I recommend you consider moving to a free state where they uphold the right of the individual over the rights of the mob and the rights of these crazy voters who probably have a bunch of criminals in prison. And that's why they're voting for laws like this, to make it easier for when they get out of jail to rob you again. So now there's also the knock and talk. Police can legally knock on your door and ask to speak with you. If you open the door and they see evidence in plain view, they can act on that, and they often do. And, they could say, I saw something shiny on the table that appeared to be a gun. And it could have just been, a shiny brand new kitchen utensil, right? But they'll use whatever they have to try to come up with a reason to come into your house if they're determined, right? Now, they can also argue there are protective sweep laws. In certain situations, officers might conduct a protective sweep to ensure the safety of the neighborhood, like there's a criminal on the loose. But those typically have to be brief and limited, and they generally are going to be ruled unconstitutional if they find something illegal during the course and scope of that protective sweep. Now, blocking for safety. If there's an ongoing threat outside, like a shooting, police might block your entry or exit to protect apparently the safety of their safety, right? Because if they see someone coming out of their front door, they might start blasting, thinking that you're one of the guys that was shooting at them. So, that kind of makes sense. And these are like judge-made laws. They're not always going to be 100% held to be the law. But typically, if an officer blocks your door without a warrant and without any of the above justifications, you probably have grounds to challenge this action legally. So the way you would do that first is you want to ask for clarification. Why are you blocking my door? Do you have a warrant? Is this an emergency situation? What is your reason for doing this? Document the incident. Always film everything. Don't record, guys. Always, always, always film everything. So you want to record and note the time, the date, their name, everything. So if they refuse to give you their name, that tells you they're probably up to something foul is afoot. And I'm going to show you some evidence of police officers literally raiding people's homes with no warrant so they can steal stuff. Like, especially if they think it's a drug house or a grow room and they think they can get some extra cash. Happening all the time, guys. It happens all the time. And then, of course, you want to file a complaint. So if you believe there was no legal justification, you could file a complaint with the police department or even consider a lawsuit if rights were violated. So that's kind of where that goes, guys, with respect to allowing an officer to just come into your home. No, that's not how it works. There has to be a legal justification for it. So I'm going to get into a couple examples for you guys right now, just so you can see what I'm talking about. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today is not going to be covered on YouTube or anywhere really other than just a news story that gets buried. But here's one from June 9th, and this is a lucky family. But typically the reason why these cases, just so you know, the reason why these cases typically do not get thrown out is because it's not on tape. And so it's not newsworthy. So that's why I always say record everything, because once you get it on YouTube, now these cops are flipping out and the department is flipping out. The prosecutor realizes that the jurors' families are seeing this. It gives the police department a bad name because they're no longer able to hide this and you know, erase their videotape or their body cam footage like we know they do all the time, cover it up, turn it off, and then claim stupidity. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, so I just want you guys to understand this is a case where no charges were brought against a family, where the police department entered the house illegally. Okay. And so this is one from Lafayette. So I'm assuming this is like New Orleans or something. Hold on. So despite 3 arrests being made after a now viral, so apparently this did get on YouTube. I don't have the video, but you know, it's probably on YouTube. This is just an image of it. Okay. Their security camera, Lafayette police forcefully entering a home without a warrant. And again, guys, that makes sense why this case was thrown out, because it was caught on tape. But just think of the hundreds and hundreds of people who aren't recording, and those cases result in convictions. So if you don't record, you're literally hanging yourself by your petard by believing that police are going to be honest. Not going to happen. So William and Tara Neal, 52 and 19 respectively, were accused of resisting law enforcement back in May after refusing to allow Lafayette police into their house on the 1900 block of Maple Street. But the video shows the officers busting down the front door and entering the living room. And it was met with widespread outrage all over Reddit and other social media sites. So just another example, Lafayette police still considered the case to be active as of June, but over 2 weeks later, an employee of the records division said that a review was anticipated to occur, and ultimately the case was thrown out. Finally, the officer said they had video evidence that someone inside the home was in danger, but the police video referenced old footage of a domestic violence, a 7-year-old video. This is how they lie. They referenced a 7-year-old video that from 7 years ago is their basis for busting down the door. So, I mean, talk about absolute craziness, guys. So now let me see. Oh, here we go. Real quick. This is the case right here. Let's see if we can get it open. All right. I'm going to show you this really quick. Dude, this is wild, man. All right. So hopefully you guys can see this. I know there's a bunch of stupid advertising. I'm sorry. I can't get rid of this dumb ad, but the charge was dropped against the woman whose arrest by the Riverside County Sheriff's deputy went viral. All right. So, and I already showed you the footage, which is probably going to get me demonetized because every word out of her mouth was a cuss word. So the only way this show is going to make any money is with some super chats. But the prosecutors dropped the criminal charge against her after her arrest went viral, after a Riverside County Sheriff's deputy entered her home without a warrant and told her now he owned the house and tackled her. So Adele Shirley had been charged with 1 misdemeanor count of resisting, delaying, and obstructing. So that's what they charged me with when the West Covina cop beat me up because I questioned him about a parking ticket that he shouldn't have been writing me because I was loading my vehicle for the purposes of a mall show when I managed the Bally's Total Fitness in West Covina. It's getting ready to go over, I think it was the Galleria Mall, and this a-hole went ahead and started boxing my ears and trying to beat me up, and then they charged me with a 148. So that's their typical thing that they do. They charge, and that's why I'm a lawyer today, guys. That was the catalyst that made me so pissed off that I became a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. So you too can get pissed off and become a lawyer. So Adele Shirey had been charged with 1 misdemeanor count of resisting, delaying, or obstructing a police officer, a peace officer. And it was a July 4th incident. So yeah, naturally, you know, Her kids are probably out there letting off fireworks. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that's what was going on. And I don't know of any young men, including myself, who didn't get their hands on some illegal cherry bombs or fireworks, especially from Southern California. I mean, I used to go down there with my dad, bring back bricks and bricks of fireworks, firecrackers. When my dad was a kid, it was common for the young boys of that era to drop cherry bombs or M80s into the girls' toilets and the boys' toilets and blow up all the plumbing, like at this public schools. It was like they thought it was funny. I don't know if you guys ever saw shows like Grease, but back then it was normal for young men to be filled with testosterone and do crazy things. They weren't walking around sipping on soy drinks, dyeing their hair blue. They were outside having a good time, getting into trouble. And that's how they learned not to get into trouble. When they got home and their dads beat the crap out of them with the belt, they became good, upstanding citizens, the boys who had fathers, and they typically stayed out of jail. So that's how it worked back then. But in this particular case, the charge was dismissed at the request of the Riverside County District Attorney's Office. Well, why do you think that is, guys? It's because of the viral video, and we're seeing a pattern here. Cases get thrown out when cops are caught on video violating people's rights. Think about that. Cases get thrown out when cops are caught on video violating people's rights. They're not thrown out when they're not caught on video. That's why you always, always, always never don't film police. It just should be like second nature. So the DA spokesperson, of course, did not answer a question about why the charge was dropped. But I think we all know on Team MPE why the charge was dropped, right? I mean, you guys can put it in the sidebar what you think if you want. Neither the prosecutor nor the sheriff addressed questions about whether the dismissal means Deputy Martin Huzar, who had no cause to arrest her, or suggest that his actions were improper. So remember the infamous case of I own your house right now. More than likely, that case was tossed because it was made viral all over the internet. And that's just how it is, guys. If you don't film the police, if you don't film the police violating rights, good luck getting the case thrown out. All right. That's just how it's going to be. So now here's another case. This is another case with a Ring camera. And so these Ring cameras are becoming vital to keeping homeowners safe from jackboot thugs. All right. So I'm going to try to play the Ring camera footage for you. Hey, Gloria, good seeing you, man. Greg B. Thanks for showing up, Greg B. and Gloria and Life Under the Microscope. I appreciate you guys all showing up for the show today, coming here early. Really means a lot to me that I have such a loyal audience. Super duper. And I appreciate all the super chats. That was really kind of you guys to hook me up on a Sunday. But we're going to try to get a lot of good footage so I can do some really cool shorts for you guys throughout the week. So you have some cool stuff to watch just in case I start this trial. So at least you guys will be able to see me. Aladdin, what's going on, man? Aladdin in the lamp. Not much, brother. Love that avatar. The true freedom fighter. Yes. Give me a bunch of ones for Aladdin and his freedom fighter avatar. I mean, if the police can violate your rights, everybody's an outlaw, right? Everyone's an outlaw. When there's so many laws, you can't even step outside your front door without being a lawbreaker. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Might as well be an outlaw if there's so many laws that you can't escape being an outlaw. It's almost like the old Soviet Union with all these leftist crazy laws that they're passing that show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And we saw that recently with Orange Man, all the political targeting against him. I mean, the stuff that Hillary did and other, like Slick Willie did before her, far more catastrophic and far more illegal than anything Orange Man has ever done. But yet they always found a way to escape the charges. Why? Because the administrative state is run by their people. And so it just, at least half of the country thinks that it was all BS and made up charges. And of course, people who are political partisans are all about it. They love it. They love it. Now, I have a warning for all you guys who think it's okay to trump up a bunch of political charges, no pun intended, to go after your political enemies. Because if they somehow are managed to get elected in spite of your voting machines and using the USPS to stuff ballot boxes and all that, if for some reason the other guy wins, you don't think that they're going to start doing the same thing to you. That's why I'm a real proponent of always, especially when it comes to politics, to leave these George Soros prosecutors, on the side of the road. Do not start doing these political prosecutions. It's going to end up blowing up in your face, guys. And it also makes the other half of the voting populace not trust you and not trust your law enforcement agencies. And so what it's ultimately doing is it's causing at least half the country not to trust anything and just to think that everything you're doing is a lie. So the grandeur of going into court and all that stuff, it loses its value to people when they think that it's just being used like how the old Soviets did things. And it creates an underground economy in a black market for truth. And I believe that's why Twitter has become so popular, because they just don't believe the lockstep, news media, the for-profit news media, legacy media. Basically, I think most people realize now that legacy news, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS are basically propaganda branches of the Democrat Party. And I think most people realize that, and they're just starving to get real news and real truth. And I think that's why a lot of people come to my channel. Now, in this particular case, there was a Grafton business owner who said that a cop illegally entered his property and targeted his boys. So I'm going to try to play this Ring camera footage for you and let you watch for yourself.
The man is angry over what he says he caught on his doorbell camera. The homeowner says an officer illegally entered his rental home, but the officer says that's not what went down after he responded to a call on Thursday. This happened across the river in Grafton, Illinois. Only First Alert 4's Deon Broxton got his hands on that security video to get the truth.
The Grafton police officer entered my home without knocking, without ringing the doorbell, without a warrant, without my knowledge or consent.
Grafton Getaway Guest House's owner, Brandon Jeffers, is livid. He says a Grafton, Illinois cop unfairly targeted guests staying at his vacation home Friday.
Those juveniles are my guests. They're invited here by me to stay, and they're paying a rental fee to stay here.
Jeffers says the boys, who are younger than 18, are here with their aunt, but she wasn't home during the police encounter.
Not only can he not enter the home, he can't question these youths without a parent or a guardian.
On the phone Friday, the officer in this video told First Alert 4 he was patrolling the area when a neighbor alerted him to what they called the boys' suspicious behavior. They were riding bikes in the area. The cop tells First Alert 4 he then tracked them down to this house. On Friday, the officer told me he took one step inside the doorway and called out to the boys to talk to them through the back kitchen door.
And there's not a word said. You can hear the door open and you can hear the creak of the door.
The officer told me one of the boys said he was 18 and agreed to a conversation in the entryway.
And the officer came into the kitchen and started talking to them.
The officer says he determined the boys were guests and left, but that's not a good enough answer for Jeffers.
I think it's pretty well known around the community that this is a rental, a guest house.
Yeah.
The officer stepped inside this doorway for a total of 4 minutes, according to the timestamp on this video. Jeffers doesn't want this to happen to anyone in Grafton again. In Grafton, Deon Broxton, First Alert 4.
The family did not want to do an interview with First Alert 4, and the property owner says one of the boys left the rental house to stay with another relative.
Yeah, and why would they want to stick around? I mean, obviously there's some black teens, and it's probably an all-white area, and some neighbor got flipped out, so clearly they're guilty of riding bicycles while black. And this cop just violates every single rule on the book, breaks into the house, lies about it, and says they gave him permission. Unfortunately for us, it was caught on tape. But this is just another example of what goes on every single day, guys. And so that's why I want to tell you, never, ever don't record police, and make sure that you have proper video surveillance at your house, because they will absolutely lie. They will disappear their video, their webcams, their body cams. They'll turn the camera a different way. So, it's not caught on tape when they're punching you in the face. They'll yell out that stop resisting when you're not resisting, in order for it really loud. So neighbors and bystanders who didn't actually see the incident will testify to what they observed by audio, right? So it will only help them at trial and will always hurt you. So it's another example of why I tell you guys, you always have to record. And I'm sure there are some good cops out there. I'm just waiting for one of them to come out and come on my show. The only good cops that I've met so far are whistleblowers, people who have caught fellow officers violating the Constitution and gone after them. And typically what ends up happening to them is internal affairs will target them. Internal affairs will target the whistleblower. And so because I'm a personal injury lawyer and I've done civil rights cases, besides the tight handcuff, finger amputation, and hand amputation cases that I've worked on, those are the other cases that I put a lot of my love into. But unfortunately, most civil rights cases, they're not capable of being able to support a family if you're a lawyer. So that's why I do a lot of car accidents and big rig truck accidents. And mainly my clients are military veterans because I'm a Marine, and they know that they can count on me to keep my word and do a good job for them and their families. But with these civil rights cases, man, it's a ton of work. You always risk the judge. You always risk the judge lowering your attorney's fees, which is really the only way you can make money off a lot of these civil rights claims. They take years. They don't ever settle, right? It's not like a car accident where they're going to settle pretty quickly because they already know they're going to lose if they go to trial against me. But you're dealing with municipal corporations with these civil rights cases, and they do not want to pay. And typically they want to wait until the mayor leaves the office, right? They want witnesses to leave, people pass away. So they're going to fight them forever. So unless it's a real serious civil rights case, like a police shooting case, a tight handcuff case, even a case like that, I mean, what are your damages? I mean, the guy violated the Fourth Amendment. What are the damages? He didn't arrest anyone. He didn't shoot anyone. So it's like a couple $100, a few $1,000s, maybe some attorney's fees. The cost of a lawyer bringing a case like that, right? The cost of me filing the case, fronting all the costs up front. It's just by the time you get the cases over, your client gets nothing. You maybe get a couple of $100 in attorney's fees, and everything else goes to your expert witnesses, goes to cover your filing fees. And of course, so many of these cop watchers hate me because they call me, you need to take my case. My rights were violated. And then they try to tell me how to do my job. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're calling me because I know better than you. I'm a lawyer. And second of all, this case has no value. What do you mean it doesn't have value? My rights were violated. I'm like, it has value to you, and it has value to me from a spiritual point of view. You're right. But to sue over it, good luck getting any money for it. And so that's the big problem we have, guys. That's why I always tell you, stop electing politicians who appoint people like this as cops. And we need to increase the penalties for cops who violate people's rights. This whole thing, we need to get rid of qualified immunity. Well, how did that work out? How did getting rid of qualified immunity work out in Colorado? It did absolutely nothing. It did nothing. Getting rid of qualified immunity in Colorado did nothing. The cops are still violating people's rights just as if they still had it. Now, you want to know what I think would? You want to know what I think would help? Making it a capital crime, a capital offense for cops to violate people's rights. That's the only way, in my estimation, that you can stop it from happening. Right now, it's too easy for a cop like that just to walk into a house and start blasting, right? And then claim there was an exigent circumstance, or, it was plain view, I saw a weapon, and then take a throwdown weapon out of his patrol car and throw it on the ground. He's got covered because of the 911 call. Just think about it. I mean, if you're a black family in particular, and you rented out this cottage and your kids are there, and they're cruising around on bicycles. And of course, there's probably going to be some terrified white old lady who saw too many Dragnet episodes, right? Or maybe she hung out in Chicago and sees all the black kids running around with guns. But that's just, in their minds, they just assume that they're all criminals. And the cops obviously are on board to think the same thing, right? And if the jury has been brainwashed into thinking that, I can understand why the parents don't want to give a statement. I mean, I feel terrible for the property owner who's renting his property, right? I feel terrible for him because could you imagine renting your house to a black family, right? And then having this happen to the people who rented from you, good paying people who rented the property just because their kids are out riding bicycles. I mean, give me a break, right? It's terrible what's going on out in our country. So anyways, here's another example of what a lot of police are doing. And this is an example of Detroit cops just busting into someone's house with no warrant and just going for it and do whatever the hell they want. And this happens more often than not, guys. The problem is it's very rare that we get it on film.
2 Detroit police officers are facing criminal charges accused of busting through the door of a home, searching inside, and making an arrest, all without a search warrant.
Let's bring in Rod Maloney. He's live tonight. Rod, these are members of a special police task force. Yeah, it's the burglary unit, the special burglary task force, and the officers' names are Bradley Clark and Sergeant Paul Glaza. Now, they were looking for a suspect, and they were wearing their body cameras at the time. And while it turns out those body cameras revealed the kind of police work the DPD is not particularly proud of. Assistant Chief James White addressed the fact that 2 DPD officers are suspended and off the job and awaiting trial for a bad arrest.
Certainly, we are
Hey, how about this? The burglarizer unit, right?
concerned and we are certainly disappointed. The training that we give out and the way that we train to search and seizure, this clearly did not follow that practice and policy.
Supervisors watching video of arrests is one of the policies that came with Detroit police body cameras.
Certainly, they saw policy violations, and at which point, as they continued to review the investigation, they had even more concern as to if it were some criminality involved as well, at which point it was turned over to internal affairs.
In this case, that came in January. The cameras reportedly revealed the entry into a Detroit man's home on Pembroke Street without a warrant and arrested the man armed with a stun gun. The charges the officers face are 2nd and 3rd degree home invasion, misconduct in office, malicious destruction of property, and entering a dwelling without permission.
They saw policy violations, and at which point, as they continued to review the investigation, they had even more concern as to if it were some criminality involved as well, at which point it was turned over to internal affairs.
Internal Affairs finished their investigation. The case was sent to prosecutor Kim Worthy. Her office arraigned the 2 officers last Friday, and they had not guilty pleas entered on their behalf. They'll be back in court in the next couple of weeks. Reporting live.
So you heard it, guys. So Internal Affairs, they investigate their own guys. So, you already know that probably nothing's going to happen to them at the department level. Investigating your own people, like the government investigating itself. Give me a break. And then ultimately, what brought them down was violating their policy. And so BZ Watchdog and I have had conversations about policy violations quite a bit. So typically, you don't really have a whole lot of rights against police for violating their policy. Now, yes, if they violate their policy, when you sue them, it definitely can show that it fell below the standard of care. But as far as bringing criminal charges against them for violating policy, that's very rare that will happen because it has to be a law that they broke. Policy is not law. Policy is basically a floor of what their standard should be and not a ceiling, right? So it's like the minimum standard that a cop should abide by. That's their policy. So if they breach their policy, it shows that they violated the bare minimum. I think that the standard should be very high for a cop because they have the right to take lives. They have a license to kill. And after what happened to me and seeing how I was treated by my friends and family who all treated me like I was a crazy person, like, how could you get beat up by a cop? Clearly you did something wrong. Well, no, that's not the case. Standing up for your fundamental unalienable rights is not only a right, but it's a duty of all free men and women. You have to stand up for your rights because rights not claimed are considered waived. Do yourself a favor and read the old case of Marbury versus Madison. You need to learn about your fundamental rights, guys. By the way, they don't even teach in public schools anymore the Declaration of Independence, that the first act of the revolution was because the king tried to strip us of our firearms. The government knows that a population capable of resisting authority and abusive authority is somebody that they have to listen to. In our modern day government, especially like with Kamala and Tampon Tim, these people are trying to make us like a communist Chinese style government where the government has the right to surveil people and the government is in charge. But for hundreds of years, it was always understood that we, the people, were in charge. It wasn't until these billionaires like George Soros and now the World Economic Forum started shaping our public policy by giving all these American politicians campaign donations and money through their corporations and other illegal means. We know that Charlie Tree was bringing in the Clintons suitcases full of money, communist Chinese general, Charlie Tree. And of course, we know that the mainstream media, another branch of the Democrat Party, in my opinion, covered up for him and nothing ever happened. And that's how it always is, right? Because they have their own propaganda wing. And now they're just terrified of people like Elon Musk who are allowing other people and people like us, cop watchers, right, to get out the truth. And so that's a real issue that's been going on. Our public school system's not teaching the fundamental duty of Americans to resist unjust laws, even though it's ingrained in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And then, many lefties will say, well, the Constitution doesn't say anything about God or creator or resistance, but no, it actually does. The Declaration of Independence and all of our founding documents are incorporated by reference into the Constitution. If you read it, it clearly says, in the year of our independence. Well, the year of your independence is that other document, and that's incorporated by reference. And so as a matter of law, it does apply. The problem is the school system, the professors, the news media, they're all far left Marxists, in my opinion, and they don't want you to know what your rights are because they hate our founding fathers and what this country stands for. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Now let's get into another cool video of what's going on out there on the streets. This is a case of officers flipping out when a family won't consent to be searched. And this is why I always teach that peaceful resistance, like Martin Luther King Jr. Let's check it out.
My house. Get away from my door. Back up. Come here. Yeah, come on.
Well, then keep coming because he's not.
Do you have a warrant to enter my property? I'm looking for somebody with a felony.
Welcome back to the Lackluster channel. Today's story comes from Big John. Be sure to head over to his channel and let him know I sent you. On April 18th, 2020, at approximately 1:30 a.m., an officer of the Lake Hamilton Police Department and a deputy of the Polk County Sheriff's Office knocked on the door of Big John's relative's house to ask if a black male named TT was inside the residence. It's important to note that TT has never lived at the home, and all members heard inside the house are family members. Be advised there is strong language, and at times it may be difficult to understand what is being argued. The video starts after the door was opened for the officers, and Gilman is seen obstructing the door with his leg, preventing it from being shut.
So I'm going to turn down the sound because I don't want to get busted for using foul language on YouTube, but I'll narrate for you. What are you guys doing here? Oh, we'd like to search the house. We think there's some illegal activity going on. No, where's your warrant? I'm not going to let you search the house. I'm going to drop the video on the thing for you so you guys can watch it. Take a look for yourself. Well, we really want you to consent to search. No, you really have to consent to the search. You got to do it. It's times like this I wish I had Rami, right? Because he could help me edit out all the cuss words, because now you get in trouble. They're just walking into the house. Hey, let's just walk in. We're just going to keep coming at all different hours and times unless you do what we want. So you might as well let us search the house now. Threatening them, extortion, blackmail, whatever you want to call it. I'll try to get some sound, see if we can miss the cuss words. Don't come at me like that.
You're on our fucking property. You're a fucking public.
Oh, can't even turn it on for a second, right? So you're on our effing property. You're this, you're that. You're on our property. No, you need to do what we want. You got to do what we want. Blah, blah, blah. You got to do what we want. We'll fast forward it because you already know what's going on. Let's see if this has cuss words.
Is unreasonable. The burden to overcome that presumption is on the state. To do so, the state must fit the specific search into one of several exceptions to the warrant requirement. Each state is different, so I will cover Colorado as it is the state I reside in. Be sure to look up the specific distinctions in your state. The three main exceptions to the warrant requirement are consent, probable cause with exigent circumstances, and emergencies that threaten the life and safety of another. Consent is obvious. Don't give it. Do not ever open your door. In fact, pretend to not be home. If they could have gotten a warrant, they would have. And if they do have one, they can slide it under the door or elect to break it down. As far as exigent circumstances, a warrantless entry into a person's home to conduct a search is presumptively unreasonable unless both probable cause and exigent circumstances exist at the time of the search. Some examples are a fleeing suspect, destruction of evidence, a legitimate claim of emergency threatening the life and safety of another, or there is a threat to the life of the officer. So far, these officers are unable to fit this search into any of the above, and instead prevent the door from being closed and then threaten the occupants with harassment by telling them that they will keep coming back at all different hours.
Yeah, and so the idea is, guys, is they're hoping that you'll get pissed off and slam the door on their foot, right? Because now they can charge you with resisting, they can charge you with assault and battery. That's the idea. That's their goal. They literally teach them this stuff at the police academy. Seriously, guys.
Despite the fact that the man they were looking for has never lived there and hasn't visited for for over 6 months. Remember that it is 1:30 in the morning.
He ain't getting no play here. I'm gonna stand on it. Fuck it. Y'all been came here 6 times. Ain't no black male here. Do your fucking research.
All right. So, yeah, I don't want to get too crazy with all the cuss words. As we know, YouTube gets flipped out about the cuss words. But let's take a look here. This guy's got a cell phone.
No.
Hold on. I can't even hear. What is it you think you're doing right now? What are you waiting on?
Listen to me. Okay. We have an officer in the back.
Good. And what do you see? He did not see. I bet. Let's bet on it, please.
This is the first instance in the video that the officers claim that another officer saw a black male inside the residence. But this claim was false. If the police have an arrest warrant, they are authorized to enter the home of the person named in the warrant, but cannot enter a third party's home to arrest that person.
If you're wrong.
But do you know who can? Here's something that a lot of people don't know. Bounty hunters. Bounty hunters can enter the home of someone without a warrant if they suspect that somebody who has a warrant for their arrest, like a bail jumper, is in their house. It happens all the time. And that goes back through the U.S. Constitution. There are immunities that bounty hunters have. And so I had a case once, I'm not going to get into it right now, but I had a case where the local PD worked with a retired cop who was a bounty hunter for the sole purposes of skirting the warrant laws to make arrests. And we'll get into that in another show, but it's really interesting because it's totally illegal, but it does happen. So it's something you guys need to be aware of. So I'm going to keep playing this, but I'm going to keep the sound off because I don't want to be in a situation where I get in trouble with the thought police because someone said a cuss word. And I'll try to, occasionally listen.
Go get a warrant for the black guy that's in here.
Hey, watch out. Hey, get out of the way. You're stopping.
See that? He's holding the door open. They're saying no. You have a warrant? Nope.
I'm not going to hit him.
He needs to get out of the way. Why is he not
Get out of the way.
Do you have a warrant to enter my property?
I'm looking for somebody with a felony warrant.
Do you have a warrant to enter?
He does not have a warrant. So what the cops are looking for is for this guy to slam the door on them so they can now hurt this guy, beat him up, and then come inside the house. I just want you guys to understand how it works. So that's why I say never, ever, ever open your front door to a cop. I mean, even if they have a warrant, again, they can break down the door if they've really got one. And we already know that police have the right to lie. So if they say they have a warrant, they need to show it to you. They need to show you that warrant. Give me a bunch of ones if you understand that. If they have a warrant, they need to show it to you. Now, there are situations where they have these no-knock warrants where they'll just come and bust your door down. I think it's totally unconstitutional. I can't believe that they've been upheld because if somebody no-knocks me, I'm going to be putting about 1,000 rounds down range real quick because I'm not going to know who that person is. And I don't care if they're wearing body armor. I'll be using green jackets. It's going right through them. So just keep that in mind, guys. That is not happening with somebody who knows their rights, who's looking to protect their family. Don't be doing the best thing you can do if you're considering a no-knock against somebody who actually believes in the Second Amendment and their unalienable constitutional rights. Maybe wait till they go to the grocery store and make an arrest then. But don't try to come to their home, their castle, and think that it's not going to be met with deadly force if you do a no-knock. Now, these particular police officers are totally violating these guys' rights, and they know it, and they just think that they can get away with it. And they usually do, and that's another big problem. That's why I tell you guys, stop electing scumbags as representatives, as politicians. Start electing people who believe in deleting laws instead of passing more laws. So this next one is about El Cajon. This is right down my neighborhood, and I've lived all over California, northern, southern, San Diego, you name it. And I know right where this is. Let's check it out.
A young woman says El Cajon police forced their way into her apartment without a warrant and handcuffed her on the ground, all based on a bad 911 tip. She wanted an apology, but instead, officers gave her a ticket.
NBC7 investigative reporter Alexis Rivas looked into what she says happened and also asked experts what you should do if police knock on your front door and you did not call them.
So the door was like this, it was open.
26-year-old Alexis Padilla says she was home alone when she heard loud banging on her front screen door. Standing on the other side was El Cajon Police Corporal Philip Disk.
I literally told him, I was like, I'm home alone. There's nobody here.
It was around 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday in January when El Cajon police records show someone called 911. The caller said they heard a couple fighting and a woman screaming, "Get off me, get off me." The caller said it came from Padilla's apartment. The police dispatcher marked that call as domestic violence.
And I told him, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, it might be my TV, but I promise you, like, I'll turn it down. There's nobody home.
Padilla says at the time of the 911 call, she was home alone. Her roommate had already left.
I felt like my rights were taken away. I felt like an animal.
She says what happened next compelled her to call NBC7 Investigates.
So you closed this
Right
door
on.
then?
Actually, before I closed the door, he said, can I come in and check and search?
She was guilty of being a torta.
And I said, no, you're not allowed to. I'm home alone. I don't feel safe.
Padilla says she closed the door and walked back to her room, only to hear loud banging again. This time, when she answered her door,
He grabs my door like this, and I try to close it. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's pulling on my door.
Padilla says Corporal Disk quickly overpowered her, and before she knew it, they were both in her living room.
He's pushing me, and I'm fighting with him. I'm like, stop, stop. There's nobody here. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Padilla says she ran to her bedroom where Disk and another officer chased her and handcuffed her.
I'm on the ground in my room, faced on the ground.
She showed us the bruises she says are from her scuffle with police, still visible more than a week later. But even though officers quickly confirmed she was home alone,
I'm sad.
she says she stayed handcuffed for nearly an hour.
So I'm sitting on the ground like this, just detained.
And before
Yeah, so let me tell you what's going on. They're digging through their penal code, trying to come up with an excuse to arrest her because now they know that it's a false arrest, it's unjustified entry, violation of the Fourth Amendment. So these scumbag cops are sitting there digging through their penal code, trying to figure out a way to charge her with something. Guaranteed that's what they're doing. Over an hour, they're trying to do this, trying to figure something out. And they're psychologically trying to break her down. If you wouldn't have resisted, blah, 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 trying to make her feel bad, like somehow she did something wrong. So that way they can get a confession out of her. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get a confession from her that somehow or another, that what they're trying to charge her with, and if she just is truthful and does what they want them to do, then they'll take the cuffs off of her. Let's keep watching.
Before police left, Padilla got a ticket for a misdemeanor, obstructing a police officer.
Honestly, I
148.
felt like he was just upset because I did tell him no and I closed the door and then he didn't want to leave. It was like a power play to me. I felt like he violated my rights for no reason.
We reached out to El Cajon police, but they
girlfriend.
didn't want to comment about what happened inside Padilla's apartment. A police spokesman said they're still considering her case an active investigation, which is why they also won't release any body camera video.
Thanks for correcting me, Smith.
Investigate a DV call. It's just not that common. It just isn't.
Cameron Gary would know. He retired after 30 years as a law enforcement officer. Gary says he was dispatched to a domestic violence call several times a week.
I have never, with maybe one or two exceptions, had a person not let us in. When we tell them that, hey,
God, give me a
I have to
break.
check. We can't leave. I have to check. And there's ways that you can talk to people, let them know that. And most people are pretty reasonable about that. It's just about how you package it.
Normally, police can't force their way inside your home without either first getting your consent or, if not, a warrant. But if a crime might be happening or someone might be in immediate danger, under the law, police are required to act. It's called exigent circumstances, and 911 calls concerning possible domestic violence are always considered exigent.
Police have a obligation, a legal as well as a moral, ethical obligation to take some action.
Gary says if officers have to force their way inside to do that, there's a good reason why people also get detained.
You're entering a person's home. You don't know who's in the house. You don't know if she's running to go get a weapon. You don't know if she's the suspect or the victim. You don't know any of that.
But San Diego criminal defense attorney David Shapiro says there are limits to what police can do under the law.
When police knock on your door, you have many rights. The home is the most sacred place that you have as it relates to privacy.
He says even under exigent circumstances, like potential domestic violence, even then, if police bust through your door,
It does not give law enforcement the opportunity just to come in your house and stay there indefinitely.
Shapiro says those special exigent circumstances, allowing police the right to search your home, and full stop the second a reasonable person could determine There's no crime happening and no one in immediate danger. In a small apartment the size of Padilla's, Shapiro says that should have only taken a couple of minutes.
The issue is, at what point did they cross the line?
Shapiro says in this case, he's skeptical whether police even still had the right to force their way in.
If there was a positive interaction with law enforcement that said, I'm fine, I'm the only one here, there's a really strong argument that if an exigency existed when the door was closed, it went away when the door was opened.
As for Padilla's misdemeanor, Shapiro says an obstruction charge only holds up if you delay an officer from doing their lawful duty. Keywords, lawful duty. If officers are inside your home unlawfully, outside the scope of exigent circumstances, you have the right to act reasonably to prevent them from doing their job.
On its face, it's not a good look for El Cajon police.
There's ways you can manage it without it getting, going totally off the rails like this. I just don't believe you have to fight your way through everything. I don't think that's the way to do it. And I don't think that the public expects that or wants that.
James.
Padilla says she hasn't been able to sleep and is now looking to move outside El Cajon, anywhere with a different police department.
I felt violated. I felt unheard.
Afraid of how she'd be treated should she need to call 911 because of how she was treated the day she didn't.
This is horrible. This is exactly why people are afraid of the police. This is why they don't want to go for help.
In El Cajon, Alexis Rivas, NBC7 investigates.
Man, that is just wild, right, guys? So really quick. Smith did make a point that green tips, as a general rule, they won't penetrate different levels of hard plates, but actually they do. If you're using a 7.62 against hard plates at close range, they do. And I've done tests with a couple of my buddies who are Navy SEALs out of the range, and they absolutely will penetrate hard plates. But it is true that green tips, as a general rule, if you're using a 5.56 or a 2.23, it's probably not going to go all the way through a hard plate. The difference is the punch is so powerful, even if you're wearing hard plates, you're going to get knocked on your butt. So that's just something to think about. But the whole thing about saying dummy is just inappropriate, dude. I mean, maybe you serve some time in the National Guard, or maybe you've been to the rifle range 2 or 3 times, but that doesn't make you an expert. I've actually done the testing and I know exactly what works and what doesn't. But now, Greg B., as far as you're going, you're right. And at the beginning of my show, I did make a statement that I've got like several sales. Thank you guys so much for getting a copy of my book about how to become a lawyer with no law degree or law school. I'm going to send out the links tonight for the ebooks for all you people who purchased the digital ebook. Greg, I got you, buddy. It's just I've been buried, brother. In between doing these shows, and I'm doing everything myself. I've got no admin. I've got nobody else helping me. So no, it's cool, brother. And you're right. I should be sending them out right away. And if I had some help, that's the big problem with this show, guys, is that I do everything myself. And then I'm also running a law firm. And now I'm preparing a case for trial. I'm doing briefs. I've got a couple appeals that I'm late on, that I'm trying to get an extension, and haven't been able to take my son to his judo classes because I'm all about trying to be here with you guys. And now I feel obligated to keep doing these shows. And I really do love doing it. So it's a catch-22, but as long as you don't reverse it on me, Greg, I'll get your purchase out tonight. And again, this is a living ebook. So as I find out additional information about other states, I'm also working with a guy in Arizona to help get legislation passed in Arizona, I'm going to be a sponsor to help set up a law office study program in Arizona. Now, remember, before there were law schools, everybody learned law the way that I became a lawyer. You'd study under a judge or a lawyer, typically in an inn of court, and that's how you would end up standing before the bar, and you'd be given an oral exam by a panel of, or the judge, depending on where you were. That's how Abe Lincoln became a lawyer. And typically you're reading out of Blackstone's commentaries on the English law and going to court a lot. And that's how you became a lawyer. And it was because of your reputation as being a good apprentice that the judges would admit you into the bar. So in my opinion, it was actually better because you were like, for example, for me, I tried 3 cases to the jury as a certified law student. I did probably over 100 depositions before I even got my bar card, and became a sworn practicing attorney with no undergrad or law school. or law degree. And I was making about 15 grand a month doing litigation work for these guys because they taught me how to be a lawyer, right? So before I even passed the bar, I was already doing all the litigation. So opposing summary judgments with the city attorney. I was opposing the 1538.5 motions to suppress. I was trying to oppose the motions to suppress on the prosecutor side. So I'm able to look at law from both a prosecutor as well as a victim or a defendant. And it makes me a better lawyer. And because of my training initially from actually going to court on a regular basis and literally sweeping up the law office at the end of the day and doing all the grunt work, the filing, learning how to put together a file, learning how to put together a pleading, reading out of the California style manual to understand how a court wants to look at a pleading. They don't teach you any of this stuff in law school. You think, oh, I went to Harvard, so I'm the man. And you get hired by a big firm and you don't know anything. All you have is your big degree, which nobody cares about. Nobody cares about what law school you went to. They care about, is this dude a competent attorney? And I get more cases from the fact that I'm an honorably discharged Marine than from me being on the law study program. I mean, most of my clients are bikers, outlaw bikers, motorcycle club guys. And they, as a general rule, they're like my dad. They hate lawyers. But when they see that I was a Marine, they give me a pass. And they see that when they hear my story about how I got beat up by a West Covina cop over a parking ticket, they're like, okay, this guy's cool. He's more like one of us. And so that's how I get the majority of my cases. It's not because of having that law degree or whatever. And by the way, before we get into the next video, if you want to pick up a copy of my digital ebook, I talk about my journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And this is my journey about how I did it. And I just walk you through it. And it's more of an inspirational story for you people who are sitting around and depressed and older, maybe. Like I didn't even become a lawyer till I was in my 30s and thinking, man, I don't have a degree. I don't have this, getting depressed. Don't do that, guys. Get to the gym. Surround yourself with people like me and people that are part of Team MPE. Form a parallel system. If your family has rejected you, your wife doesn't trust you or believe in you, surround yourself with people who do, and you will become a success. But the key is to believe in yourself, get to the gym, eat right, stop eating all this garbage, stay away from corn syrup and sugar, drink herb tea, hibiscus, that kind of stuff. No more sugar, avoid insulin spikes, especially you ladies, because you really pack it on quick. So remember, your insulin receptors are really tight the skinnier you are. And you only have a certain amount of insulin receptors, which burns fat and sugar, right? It burns the sugar. So as you get fatter, your insulin receptors spread apart and you have less per square inch on your body. And that's why you see like skinny people, they can eat ice cream and all this stuff. And you're wondering, how does this guy eat all this food? It must be genetic. Well, the genetic part is you craving sugar, the comfort that it gives you, right? The hormone release, that is genetic. But staying lean and staying skinny is just about eating properly. If you just do a high protein, high fruit, low carbohydrate diet and you eat properly so you can avoid kidney stones and things like that, then you should be in a position where you could lose like 10 pounds a week. Most of it's going to be water. And I'm telling you, that's the key to studying law is you've got to be working out, constantly working out, eating properly. And I cover some of that in my book. But that's the key. Hey, thanks, James Forbes, for the thumbs up, brother. I appreciate it. James is saying, yeah, that's right. Eat right. Race Gas is saying the same thing. Now, in the Marine Corps, if you're a fat dude, we would call you a diet private. We would shame you for being fat. And all those guys that were diet privates, when they came in, they'd make you wear your PT gear with these red stripes spray painted on it. And that means you're a diet private. So you're shamed basically for being overweight. And those guys would come out lean and mean, just like the rest of us. Because it was such a stigma to have to wear those red stripes, like that means I'm a lard ass. In the Marine Corps, it's all about physical fitness and looking good and being squared away, unlike the other branches. So definitely recommend that. And for you young guys, screw going to college, become a freaking United States Marine, man. That the training you're going to get there, I'll walk over 50 college grads to hire somebody who is a combat Marine for my firm. and I'll start them out as a law clerk, and I'll get them on the law study program and get them on the right path to becoming a lawyer. You don't need law school. You don't need some undergrad. What you need is people who believe in you, and you need to learn the basics. And that's all stuff that I can teach you. And that's stuff that I've been teaching a lot of you guys on my show. So now let's get into the next one. Hopefully you guys got a little motivation. So this is a police brutality case with an illegal search in Richmond County, Georgia. And they just keep going on and on and on. And the only reason these cases get thrown out, is because it's caught on video.
And we are about to witness Richmond County Sergeant Megan Inman bend the law to conduct a wellness check.
Got her feet in the door. 4 o'clock in the morning. Do you have a warrant to come here, ma'am? Do you have a warrant to come here? Yes or no?
We're going to apply for one.
I don't care. Yes or no?
I had to secure this.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
I had to secure this.
Yes or no? Why?
Do you not know what's going on behind?
Okay, we don't know. And what's going on? You just woke us up out our sleep. There she go. They go dance right here. We really was asleep.
We own the house. We don't have to come out. We
sure don't. Where's your
No,
feet
they're
in
right.
the door, ma'am? What is your badge number? What is your badge number, ma'am? What is your badge number, ma'am? What is your badge number? Why is you here, ma'am? Why is you here?
Because I'm securing this residence.
For what? For what? He gonna dance right here. For what?
So Sergeant Inman here is blocking the door being closed with her foot without having a warrant to enter the premises.
I
and
may
is doing
raise
a
gas.
terrible job in explaining why she's there in the first place, which could lead to an authentic reaction in watching this as to why the family would react in this way.
Because of the incident that happened earlier.
What happened?
Come out the residence.
No, we don't have to come out no resident. No, we don't. 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 We do not have to come out no residence. I don't know what for. What for? What for? Why? Why is you gonna put my handcuff? Because I'm asking you why you got your foot at the door. First
Unsat.
of all, you asked to speak to Jazz. She came to the door. I'm asking you, can I get your badge number? I'm asking her. Jasmine right here, sir. She's right here. They just woke us up out our sleep.
Okay. Well, there was a stabbing over here earlier.
It wasn't no stabbing over here.
All right, like Jasmine, can you come out?
Jazz, you want to go at that door? Why is you got your feet in the door, ma'am? Could you tell me?
It's for our safety.
No,
For their
no.
safety.
Y'all nothing. Y'all just woke us up.
Jasmine.
You cannot go through. Do you have a
So this is one of the new things that a lot of departments are trying to say. They're trying to say it's kind of like Terry versus Ohio, like it's an officer safety issue. They're afraid that the people inside the house are going to grab a weapon and then come out, but they're literally searching the home. They're looking inside. That is a illegal search. That is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So what they're really doing, they're trying to get these guys to slam the door on the officer's foot. So the officers now have a pretextual reason to break down the door and come and beat those people up and put them in hand torture cuffs, throw them in the dungeon, right? Take away their money. That's what it's all about. And they know, and we all know this, we've seen this on my other shows, they target Black people and poor people because in their minds, they think that they won't have enough money to be able to afford a good lawyer to defend the case. And we see it happening over and over and over again. And this is just another example.
That's one.
You want me to go?
You cannot go through here.
Just one Jasmine. That's all I want.
Okay, but she cannot serve. You know she cannot do that. Whoa. Jazz, whoa. 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 Whoa.
And then when the cops don't get their way, they barge into the home anyway.
Ain't nobody here. Ain't nobody here but us. Whoa, she do not have a search warrant. You don't have a search warrant to come here.
Don't do that. Son, the way that y'all just busted into my house.
Everybody out of the house. No. For what?
You don't have a search warrant, man.
For what?
I'm asking you not to touch me.
Why do we gotta get out the house? I don't have no problem.
Secure a search warrant.
For what?
Can you get a pair of pants?
Okay, don't touch me, sir. Why is she touching me?
Get a pair of pants on.
Okay, well, why is she touching me, sir?
Pants on.
What? Let me cut the light on. Cut the light on. Then get your hand out my face. Y'all woke me up out my sleep. Y'all woke me up. What is they doing to my son in there? They got no search warrant. I'm recording y'all. You can't.
Everyone inside is then forced out of the house as these cops continue their investigation. Local media station WAGT.
Say what? That is one brave woman to be filming. Like, these cops are trying to intimidate and terrify this woman to stop her from filming. And she's like, F you, I'm filming.
He reported on the incident, saying that it occurred at 2:30 in the morning on November 28th, with sheriff's deputies checking on the well-being of one of the home's occupants. In the incident report, deputies thought it was necessary for the occupants to come outside so they could talk with the person they were seeking to ensure her well-being and check for any other injured parties, as well as reporting that the residence needed to be secured as a potential crime scene so that no evidence could be destroyed. The video shows that the people in the home didn't want to come out and didn't believe they had to, at least without proper documentation by the deputies. During the confrontation, the woman apparently recording the video repeatedly asked deputies for their badge numbers and names, which the deputies ignored before detaining the occupants. According to a sheriff's department spokesperson, the deputies only have to identify themselves with names, which they still didn't do, but is at least accurate with Georgia's self-identification statute, stating that an officer will give their name and assignment to any person who may inquire, and this will be done in a civil manner. The exception to this rule is a situation in which it would jeopardize the safety of an officer. The people inside the home were not arrested, but were detained.
So in other words, the law basically cancels itself out because the cop can say, well, subjectively, I believe that my life is in danger if I give it to these crazy people who I just broke down their front door. So it has really no teeth in it. But there is a question here. One of my viewers is saying, if a police officer does something like this and it is considered illegal, would the officer get charged, or would it just affect the department she is from? Well, I mean, they could. I mean, clearly they're violating the Fourth Amendment. To me, when an officer violates someone's civil rights, that should be a capital offense. This whole qualified immunity thing doesn't do anything. But if you start telling them that hey, they're going to be hung from the gallows or tarred and feathered, that they violate the rights of the citizens, that might get their attention. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Now, with respect to whether or not the officer is going to get charged with something, I doubt it. I mean, the government, when it investigates itself, they rarely do anything to their own. That's the problem. I mean, internal investigations, do they ever actually really do something? No, they usually don't. And even when there are charges brought or a civil claim is brought, typically what happens is the cop will just get terminated or voluntarily resign as part of the settlement and get recycled to some other police department and do the same kind of crap. And it just keeps happening over and over and over again. It's unbelievable.
The welfare check was prompted after a man showed up at Doctor's Hospital with a stabbing injury, with the deputies reporting that the stabbing took place outside the home in a confrontation in which the stabbing patient was the aggressor. The stabbing patient, his girlfriend, and another person had gone to the home to check on a friend, and she was the same person deputies were trying to check on.
Okay, so you kind of got that. The deputies are trying to check on a stabbing patient, apparently, who was actually considered to be the aggressor, and she ended up getting stabbed. So they want to check on her welfare, right? So what a great way to check on someone's welfare: bust into their house and arrest everybody with their guns drawn. I mean, give me a bunch of ones if you think that is insane, absolutely insane. I mean, I cannot hold anything against these people for behaving exactly the way they did. So here's another one about a police officers entering a home without a warrant. Another crazy one. So she's calling the police, you got to turn it up probably, but she's calling 911 going, hey, there's a cop who's got his foot in my door. You know, get me someone over here to get him to abide by the law.
No, he does not. For who? I need Mr. Green. Mr. Green. I don't know him, Mr. Green. And I need the paperwork on that. I need a supervisor.
Yeah, where's your warrant?
1235 Tryon Street. Yeah, and could you tell your officer to take his foot out of my door? And if he has a warrant, I'd be more than happy to cooperate. He has no paperwork on the warrant. He has a foot in my door and would not allow me to close it.
All right, now. All right, I'm explaining this to you.
Okay?
We have an arrest.
And he's searching for laws that he had broken while he has his foot in my door. Thank you. And who's the supervisor? And if he is the supervisor, I need his boss.
Ma'am, what you're doing is violating law by calling 911 for a non-emergency.
Well, your supervisor have the right to break laws?
Second of all, we have an arrest warrant for him.
Okay, of course you can advise me. Thank you.
So we don't need a search.
Where's the arrest warrant? So he's saying they don't need a search warrant. She's saying, okay, well, show me the arrest warrant. And he's saying, we don't need to. So it's like a circular argument.
Arrest warrant, because this is not his property. Okay, well, when they get here, I'll open the door.
No, ma'am, it's not how it works.
Oh, how does it work? You call around and find out a warrant before you close the door? I'm going to play this back.
You don't
to
have
every
the warrant.
station in South Carolina.
We're actively investigating a criminal offense that occurred next door, which is a series of from this weekend. Also, he has an active arrest warrant.
And when did that? When was that in effect? And when was that in effect? But you cannot break into my property. You are. You got your foot. You recording the character. You have your foot in my door, and you're trying to find reasons to arrest Freed Clark. I have not stated he was here. I'm just saying he would come to the police station with counsel. I want your foot out of my door.
Yeah, just don't open the door. That's the problem. If she hadn't opened the front door, they wouldn't have been able to come inside. They would have to get a search warrant. Unless they saw the guy actually coming into the home, they have no evidence with which to say there's an exigent circumstance to where they could break down the door. There's just nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing there. So look, he's searching inside the house. He's looking, searching. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. I don't care what anybody says.
What is your name, sir? Lieutenant who? Van Allen. Hey, Angela, can you reach Sheriff Dennis for me? Okay, can you call his house and let him know that he has Lieutenant Van something here at my house with his foot in my door and would not allow me to close it. He has no warrant. He's calling back to the police station trying to find anything he can on a particular person who is not a resident here, and he would not allow me to close my door. Yes, my house. Van, what is your name?
I'm Lieutenant Van Allen.
Van Allen. I have Carrington recording it. He has his foot in my door when I close it. Yes. It's not right. He has to have a warrant. Exactly. This is a tactic they use. This is a tactic they use to break the law to get what they want. But it's not legal. Not yet. They're threatening to arrest me. Exactly. I'm inside my house and they can't bust inside my house without a warrant. Because they're investigating allegedly something that happened on another property. But they're standing here. Yes. Okay. Okay. Sir, I'm asking you to move your foot out of my door until the warrant arrives, and then I will open this door and comply. Get your foot out of my door.
No, man, we're here talking to you.
No, you're not. I'm done talking. I don't want to talk to you. I said I will come down to the police station with counsel if for anyone you want to speak with. But I'm not allowing you in my house without a warrant. Get your foot out of my door until you have a warrant.
So you hear that? They're waiting on the warrant. You hear that, guys? He doesn't even have a warrant. Now, there are cases, there are exceptions where if the home is named in the actual like parole or probation papers, that the police have the right to come onto the property at any time to execute a warrant. But it appears as though, based on what she's saying, is that this is not even the place where this guy lives. And so the police are just investigating, trying to find this guy. And her biggest mistake is that she opened the door. And so now he's using that as some sort of roundabout method to try to wait for the warrant while he has the door open, which really doesn't make any sense. It really looks like it's his donut-filled testosterone mixed with her rage that is fueling this whole event.
Move your foot from out of my door. He's breaking the law.
That's right.
Sumter Finest from the sheriff department.
Explain what happened again.
Oh, they came asking questions and wanting to speak to, who is it? Kareem Clark, in reference to an incident that happened next door. And I asked them if they had a warrant. They said no. So I said I will have him down to the station with counsel. So they called the police department searching and looking for anything that he is wanted on. But this lieutenant stepped up to the door and put his foot in my door and would not allow me to close it. They do not have a warrant in hand. And if they did, I would comply.
And they're even admitting they don't have the warrant with them. They're trying to find it. They're trying to get it.
He has the warrant. Been waiting like 30 minutes on him to foot in the door, by the way.
I want to see it. I want to see a warrant to enter my place.
And remember, police are allowed
Oh,
to
you
watch.
don't have it? I have a right to see the warrant. I want to see the warrant to enter these premises. Yes, I want to see the warrant to enter these premises.
I agree with Senpai. I think Senpai's right. You're stepping inside your house without a warrant. Well, it is a lawsuit, but again, how are you going to get any money when there's no injury or damage? You're going to spend more bringing the lawsuit. And remember, if it's federal, it requires a unanimous jury. So all it takes is one pro-government juror and you lose. So it's not as easy as you guys think. And that's what I'm trying to teach you guys.
Someone said if they can't show the warrant, she has the right to close the door.
Oh, but he's keeping his foot in the door. He's preventing me from closing my door so they can bomb rush my house.
We have knowledge of the warrant and also
Knowledge of, but you have to have a warrant in hand
He's right.
in order to enter my premises.
All right. I understand you think you realize all the law.
No, I don't.
All right.
No, I
As long
don't.
as there's a valid warrant, it does not have to be here.
I want a warrant to enter my premises. You have to have permission to enter my premises. And you're saying as long as it's a warrant valid to enter my premises,
What evidence does he have that the so-called defendant or arrestee is even in the house? That's the biggest problem that we have right here, guys, is there's just no evidence that the guy's even in the house. So you could have all the arrest warrants you want. Cops just can't come and bust down doors because they think some suspect might be in the house. It's crazy.
your foot in my door the whole time till you can find something. That's breaking the law. So I don't know all the law, but I do know you don't have the right to leave your foot in my door preventing me from closing it.
And when I'm actually investigating
They treat black people. They treat black people so bad. It just blows me away.
I didn't even close the door. Now that's what you accusing me of? You're a liar. You are a liar.
Why is she opening that door? Why is she
accusing me of slamming the door? I couldn't even close the door. You stepped up here when your officer was speaking and put your foot in my door. You a liar.
He is lying.
He was standing by the door.
They're just trying to come up with a reason to arrest her. That's what it's all about at this point.
Oh, you figuring out all the other charges.
That's what they're trying to do. She's right. She's right.
I'm closing my door until you give me a warrant to enter these premises. Move your foot. Remove your foot. Why not? Why won't you remove your foot? Remove your foot out of my door.
So now they're going to hit her with a battery.
Like you don't have the right to do that. It's ridiculous.
Now am I slamming? No, he don't have the right.
You don't. You don't. Because it works that way. That's not the law. It doesn't state that in the law because it works that way. It's like that doesn't make any sense.
You wonder why they hate cops.
Because it works that way.
That's
I
why.
didn't know that was written in law 14 of my rights.
I love it. I'd like to train one of these ladies how to be a lawyer. These are the kind of people that I want studying under me. People who have already been abused by the government.
No, you didn't even have a warrant before you came and put your foot in my door. You didn't even have a warrant. Oh, you can laugh and jerk and talk amongst each other because I heard the conversations. I heard you all looking for warrants on the phone and said something about Mr. Green.
She's awesome, man. I don't know, Greg B, but I think they're going to do something pretty mean pretty soon because they don't like it when someone resists their unlawful advances.
Apartment 33.
They're just sitting out
That's
here
right, I
like
love
sitting
big
ducks
women.
waiting for a warrant. Like I'm stupid.
She's awesome. That's the kind of
Okay.
woman you want as a
Can I have your
mother.
name and badge number, please? Okay, thank
I
you.
provided that to you.
No, you didn't. You just said your name and your rank.
I got it, Karen.
All they want to do is get in there and make arrests. That's what it's all about. Look, she's barefoot, so if they open that door, they're going to rip her foot open.
Get away with it. That's what they do. But then they try to say that they arrested.
She's a Christian woman. She's got her judging by Jesus. I don't see her swearing or cussing at all.
To get what they want and lie.
Yeah, I know he can't refuse to give that
And
to me.
lie
That's why
about
he's
it.
blatantly ignoring me, acting like he's talking about something important when he's not. Just sitting in silence.
She is
Wasting
cool.
heat.
I love her spunk too, James Forbes. These are the kind of people that we need in government. Precisely the kind of people you want rearing your children. If there was a way I
South
could get-
Carolina
if
on
there's a
Broad
way I could get
Street.
money to her, I would, man. This is a legit woman right here.
All I'm asking for is a warrant to enter my premises, and they haven't provided that. But they'll leave their foot in the door until they get that. They don't have it.
They don't have it.
This attention
They're not going to get
for
it.
Some stolen iPods that were at the storage unit across the street. They said they had to have the specific unit and then have reason to get a judge to sign off on it.
That's for a
That
search
never
warrant.
happened.
So that's for a search warrant. Now, arrest warrants are a little bit different.
But here, they can just bust into your house.
Now, if there's an arrest warrant and they had evidence that that person was in the house, they could argue that they have the ability to effectuate that arrest warrant without having a search warrant. But obviously they don't have that. Otherwise, they would have already busted down the door and come inside. That's the problem we're seeing here.
Let's leave their foot in the door for 30 minutes.
All right, there you go.
Always record everything.
Hold on. I want to see that it's to
finally
enter
arrived.
this premises.
That's an arrest warrant.
It doesn't say that you have the right.
He
You
just got
hurt
that, by
my
the way. He
foot.
literally just
Her
got
foot.
You
I
just hurt
saw
my
that coming.
foot. It just hurt my foot. I want to see where you have the right to enter. I didn't see it. I didn't even
That's
read
a battery.
Dyson.
So by her snatching the paper, that's a battery. So that's a problem, guys. So they're gonna charge her with battery for slamming the door, even though she didn't, and for snatching the paper. I'm just telling you how the police work, man. It's exactly what's going to happen.
See, I hope he have his body cam on. Carrington, give me light to see this. Oh no, that's okay. Oh hell no, you won't. I'm gonna make a copy of it.
What are they searching for?
Because this doesn't say you have the right to enter here.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. If that's an arrest warrant, they don't have a right to search. They need. Do they think that he's hiding in the kitchen cupboard? Come on, guys. What the hell is going on?
To enter my premises, then it would say that. And you don't have a warrant to enter my premises. This is not that.
They injure her foot. What a bunch of jerks. A bench warrant. It's not even a search warrant. It's a bench warrant. You've got
Smash the Topic has created a platform for the community to send your videos to. We have a platform for individuals in the community that feel like they've been discriminated against for a variety of reasons. Videos like being falsely accused by businesses, encounters with officers, or individuals. Whatever the case may be, Smash the Topic will make sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop that so you can read that. And I'm going to drop this link here so you guys can click on that. So guys, I didn't have time to show you everything because we've already gone a couple of hours, but hopefully you guys had a good time. This was my way of making up for missing you guys yesterday. But I always like to try to show you, like, that was a bench warrant. They had no right to be in that house. And immediately they start trying to search the kitchen, right? They're probably looking for some weed or anything they can. And we don't know what ended up happening with that woman, but the police did have the right for the snatching and for the closing of the door to pretextually at least charge and arrest her with a battery. Absolutely. So that's something that could have probably happened. We haven't seen the end of this yet. I'm going to try to get some additional information so we can learn more about it. The good news is that the sheriff who said, "I own your house," that was the viral video. I'm the first guy on YouTube, the first lawyer on YouTube to break the story that charge was thrown out. That case was thrown out by the Riverside district attorney. So give me a bunch of ones for that woman getting that case dismissed. But think about all the other cases where it wasn't caught on film. Always, never, don't film. Always film the police. Never trust their body cams. Film everything. Make sure you have a camera at your front door too, because that Riverside case could have gone the wrong way if that woman didn't have the Ring camera filming and you seeing that altercation. Remember, when cops put their foot and block your door, that's a problem. That's why you never, ever open the door. Don't ever open your door for police. There's no reason to. Don't think that you're being a good Samaritan by participating in an investigation against yourself. As soon as something like that's happening, call 911. There's a dude with a badge at my front door. He's got no warrant, claiming that he's a cop. I don't believe it. Please tell me what's going on. And so, hey, Let's OTVO, good seeing you, brother. I love seeing you with that PFC chevron. I wish there was a way I could give out Navy ranks too, brother. Everybody, Let's OTVO is a good friend of mine. He's about 10 feet tall, monster, but the nicest, kindest guy you'll ever meet. And he is former Navy. And so we love him because us Marines, we love the Navy because they get us there, our battle taxis. And then I just want to thank everybody for showing up today. So let me just give it to you. Indy Sandlin, thanks for coming. You look like a new one. James Forbes, I love seeing you with your wrench there next to you. And then Tiffany Dagley, you're almost ready to get your wrench. And then Rights On, the link's not working. Well, Rights On, I think that link is for Facebook. So you may have to like be a Facebook person. I figured out a way to get around it because I hate Facebook. I hate the censorship Silicon Valley sites. Luckily, so far, YouTube has been a little bit less censorship oriented than Facebook and Instagram. And then Holly Bear, thanks for subscribing. Make sure to always come and check out my show. And then Joe Black, thank you for coming. And Writes On as always, man. Christopher Duncan's really cool. He's given me a bunch of different laws that we can share with people. Rosalind Earp says, sue, sue, sue. And look, I'm a big proponent of suing, but remember, you got to have real damages and you got to be careful about suing because sometimes you'll spend more with costs and all that stuff and hire an expert witnesses than you can get out of an actual verdict or a settlement. So you got to be careful with that. And that's why I say protect yourself in advance and do things that will prevent you from having to bring a suit, like don't open your front door. Don't talk to them. Don't participate in an investigation against yourself. Real simple. And as you watch my show and learn more and more about your rights, you're going to start becoming more educated and trained on what to do and what not to do. Bravery is one of the biggest things, guys. Like that black woman was so brave to stand her ground in both those videos and not give in and not surrender. And cops hate that. They hate strong women in particular because typically they're going to crumble. And that didn't happen here. So give me a bunch of ones to the strong black women in our videos tonight. What awesome women they were. And you're right, James, that we'll just make stuff up. Neris says that the door shut and he moved his foot to keep it open more. And yeah, you're right. You know, I get it. He says I'm white. Granted, I'm white and I live in a nice neighborhood. And you know, I got to tell you, I'm a colorblind guy. When I see people, I look at their character. But I also recognize from being a lawyer that, yeah, black people definitely get discriminated against big time by cops. I've seen it happen in my cases, but they'll definitely discriminate against white people if they stand up for their rights too. It happened to me. I got beat up by a West Covina cop for arguing with him over a parking ticket and asking him if he didn't have anything better to do while I was loading my truck up, getting ready for a mall show in a private parking lot in front of my work. And that, I think I cover a little bit of that in my book. I love big women. I don't really love big women, but I love your name. I love women in general. I'm not into the big women thing because I'm not a big guy, but a lot of my friends love big women. So I'm with you, brother. Let me see here. Tiffany Dagley, thank you so much for coming. And Chris Duncan. And I'm just trying to give everybody thanks as much as I can. Life Under the Microscope, thank you for showing up today and all your kind comments. SCP 4494 says they treat us all like inmates, black and white. That's right. And I think that's partially true. Yeah. Ghost Man, love all your comments. Joseph Pelashuta, love the name. And I agree that that cop was terrorizing them and their families. Pink Floyd, yes, because all we are is just another brick in the wall to them. And then Senpai, absolutely love your comments. Love Chris Duncan's comments. And by the way, guys, make sure to double tap the screen. Make sure to like and subscribe. And once this video is done and it gets posted, go and start making comments, because a lot of people are accusing me that like I'm using like bots or something to get people to view. I don't really know how all that works, but the bottom line is when you film in vertical, people don't have access to the comments. So after it goes live, you will. So please come back and make some comments to prove all these jerks wrong who are just jealous that I have a lot of people viewing my videos. And Arkash Singh, thank you. I think it is illegal to buy too much baby oil if you're P. Diddy. And Race Gas, absolutely. And again, I'll get all the books out to you guys. Again, if you want to learn a little bit about my journey, I talk in my digital ebook, not this soft cover, but the digital ebook that has this same cover, about my journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And you could just go to the Michael Eline YouTube homepage on YouTube. Just type in Michael Eline. It'll take you to my homepage. Go on to where it says more under the description, like about me. Scroll down. You'll see my Reddit link. You'll see my Twitter link. Make sure to add me as a friend and then click the PayPal for $19.99. You'll be able to get a digital version of my ebook where I take you on my journey. I talk about how I became a lawyer with no undergrad or law degree and what inspired me and how I found lawyers to work under. And it wasn't easy, but I did it. I still consider it to be my greatest achievement besides becoming a U.S. Marine. And I just want to share with you my inspiring story and my message of you can take back your freedom if you just learn a little bit about the law and always have a positive mental attitude and make sure to look after other people who look after you. So I believe in forming parallel systems so you don't have to shop at Target and all these demonic corporations that are trying to brainwash your children, that you should be homeschooling your children. You should homestead if possible, to where you can grow your own food, where it's not sprayed with chemicals like atrazine that turns frogs into male frogs into female frogs. And we have 3 times the level of atrazine in our drinking water right now, according to many experts. So think about that. Start, filtering your water, growing your own chow, finding a good woman who wants to rear your children properly, have a spiritual foundation with your wife and your kids where they learn right from wrong at an early age, have a strong father figure. And again, this is the rule. There's always exceptions, but as a general rule, the general rule overrules the exceptions. So always think about that. You always want to have that strong leadership for those kids and make sure that they always know what their rights are. Teach them about the Revolutionary War. Teach them about the British trying to seize the powder houses. I had a UFC fighter on a few days ago, Ricky Simone. I'll try to have him come back on. And I've had a Navy SEAL on before. I'll try to get him to come back on as well, where we talk about strong male leadership and how so many women are craving that. They're craving that strong leadership so they have the ability to rear their children properly without sending them to a public school. And so I encourage all of you guys to think about that. It's part of being a man. And to have as many babies as you can, I do encourage that. And to try to, have a secure border and not let criminals and scumbags into our country. Don't vote for politicians that flood your country with illegal aliens from Venezuelan prisons. Get off of corporate media. Get off of for-profit media. Don't watch Communist News Network. Don't watch PMSNBC. Look after your families. And otherwise, you're going to feel guilty later. Trust me, I still feel guilty about me not being there as much as I should have been for my father, who was also a Marine, who, my parents were divorced at a young age. And I guess I was bitter against both of them. Another reason why you stay married is best as you try to stay married so your kids don't resent both of you. So anyways, that's just some tips that I have for you besides being a lawyer and helping you with your other stuff to try to, teach you how to have a better life in general. And Joe Black, thank you. There's 4 steps to argue like a lawyer: conclusion, analyst, rule, conclusion. That's one way. But I think another way to be a good lawyer is to always be courteous, considerate, and kind to others. You win over a jury instead of winning over them by simply being a good person. And your clients will respect you a lot more if you're courteous, considerate, and kind. Don't always cut them off mid-sentence, and just try to be a good person. So I do encourage all you guys to be that way. I'm somebody who slept on park benches in order to become a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And so it was those kind people who believed in me, even when like family members and other highfalutin lawyers said, "Oh, there's no way you're going to do that. No one's ever going to take you seriously." And I ended up winning about $200 million in verdicts and settlements for my clients over the last 20 years. And I've been able to help a lot of Marines and a lot of EAS sailors, corpsmen, and Marines who were having really rough lives and in dark places with my testimony, and coming to the Wounded Warriors Battalion at Camp Pendleton to try to help them get their lives on track. And I helped draft the Cruise Ship Safety Act, which is now law, and lobbied Congress as a volunteer a couple of times. And so I've had a really great journey coming from someone who was Rodney Dangerfield's limo driver, from a health club salesman, into becoming a lawyer. So I've got that life experience, and I want to share that with you guys. You don't need to spend millions of dollars. You don't need to act like you're special because you're a lawyer. Just be yourself and be grateful that you have an opportunity to help other people. And that's my message for you. If you're going to be a lawyer, do it because you want to help other people. And yeah, you got to support your family. You got to survive, but you can donate your time. And so I always appreciate you guys getting a copy of my book or the super chats, because that definitely helps me convince my wife that I should be doing this instead of taking my son to judo all the time and all that other stuff. And I just got a cool one just now, guys. This is another example. I can go to my wife and say, George in Orbit just sent me $10 super chat. Says, if I send a picture to UC Berkeley of a certain girl that I though I knew doing an obscene gesture on a picture on Instagram, which she got it on a private, can she lose her scholarship? Gosh, I don't know, George, but I know that there are they call it like porn laws where you can go to jail. Like if there's video of you or your wife or your girlfriend, like maybe you have private video that you guys have from when you went to a party and you got crazy. If somebody shares that, they can be prosecuted. So I would never, ever, ever share someone's private porn or anything like that, because I think it's a felony in California. So, and I don't think you should ever try and do things to try and get people in trouble or try and get them expelled. Typically what's going to happen is people who do bad things and go against God's law, it's going to catch up to them anyway. And most people don't need your help to find judgment. Judgment's going to find them. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree. Live and let live. I'm sure there's plenty of things you've done, George, that other people would consider wrong and nefarious. I know I sure have. That's why I would never run for politics. I mean, I was a Marine, for crying out loud. I've done terrible things. Womanizer, thousands of girlfriends, and just, terrible things that I regret, not being there as much for my father. And I'm already convicted for that internally and spiritually. There's no reason why you need to help someone along when they probably already feel terrible about what they've done. So that's the only advice that I have for you, is to live and let live. If this person has done something wrong, she may potentially lose her scholarship, but you may end up in prison for violating, I can't remember what it's called, but I'm pretty sure it's in most states, that if you share compromising video, revenge porn, they call it revenge porn. That's a really big deal. And who hasn't done stuff that they regret, or right? I mean, there's so many laws now, everyone's a criminal, for crying out loud, right, guys? So that's right. I appreciate you saying that, James, but I would never be in politics or government, because I don't feel like I'm qualified based upon things that I've done in the past that are unchaste. And I think that we should be electing people and putting people in positions of power who have a clean slate. And I know there's got to be a few of them out there, like our young man, Max Bonilla, outraged teen. He is somebody that I would want to have in a political position. He goes to church every Sunday. He's a young man. I don't even think he's ever had a girlfriend. And I just think he's so convicted by his beliefs that I think the worst thing he's probably ever done is maybe thrown a piece of trash on the sidewalk, and he probably prays every night for forgiveness. Those are the kind of people I think that we should have in government. People who believe in less laws, not more. People who believe in deleting laws, not passing more laws. So don't think of me, guys, as like somebody special. I'm just a sinner like everyone else who wants to hold public officials accountable. And I want them to abide by their oath to the Constitution, because once you take that oath, you're bound by it, as far as I'm concerned, forever. And it's nothing to be taken lightly. So, George in Orbit, I appreciate your question, and I appreciate you supporting my channel, but I would just tell you as a brother that it's never good to talk about stuff like that. Even if it's someone else who's going to do it, you could just tell them, yeah, man, they probably would get arrested for revenge porn if they get caught. And just the fact that this is now public on social media, if it ever did come out, and it could get traced back to your IP address, and they could find your friend who's doing it. So just be really, really careful about stuff. And remember that when you hold angst, or your friend holds angst against other people, it tends to come back tenfold against them. And so I do believe that you need to learn how to forgive people, and they need to learn how to seek forgiveness if they've done things that are wrong, and hope that God goes easy on them when it's time for the true judgment at the pearly gates. At least that's my view. You guys can have your own view. But again, I do really love my audience and Ronald Archibald. And I agree with you. Like, if you're going to have someone in politics, I think they should be someone who was like a home builder, a blue collar worker, somebody like that lady who got the door opened on her. She had every right to swear and cuss, but she didn't. And she had like the Jesus thing on her shirt. And you could tell that she had every right to get angry and cuss and swear, but she didn't. I think that people who learn how to be, have a self-control, those are the kind of people that we want. Good mothers be great politicians, because they understand the dynamics of grace and getting up at 3 a.m. to nurse and stuff like that. So yeah. And strong men who are there for their families. Those are the kind of people that I would want in government. Definitely not somebody like Tampon Tim, who makes multiple trips over to communist China. Atheists. We don't want people that don't believe in a creator and power. Not my kind of people. Our Constitution is a derivative of the Declaration of Independence, which says our rights come from an all-powerful creator and they can't be taken away by man. And we know that the communist Chinese, that's what they want. They want to take away all your rights and crush you if you go against the state. And we don't believe in that, guys. We believe in individual fundamental rights, and that's what we want on Team MPE. So guys, please always, again, when the show's over, make sure to write some comments. I'll try to break this video up into a bunch of shorts for you guys so you have stuff to watch throughout the week in case I start this trial. And make sure to like and subscribe and make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And then Let's OTVO says BZ got arrested. What the fudge? Okay, so it looks like BZ Watchdog got arrested. I have my phone right now turned off. Let's OTVO, please call me. I'm going to cut the show right now and let's find out what's going on with BZ. I had no idea. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Semper Fi, do or die. I'm turning on my phone right now. Let's OTVO, please call me right away.